Okay, I think it's recording. Or maybe not. Yep, it's recording. I just want to quickly find, if I can find, I'm just starting to use this. There was something you could do where you could make applause. So you have like applause in the background and stuff. Where was it? Advanced? Creation login. God, move out of the way. No. Sorry, we'll get this working eventually. What was that? No. Rich mood editor? What's all this? No. No. Sorry, we can start again in a minute anyway. Just want to get used to this software. There was something where you can make... Oh, yeah, here we go. Did you hear that? Yeah? You can do all these like emotion things. So they're cheering for Ben Cowan. Okay, thank you everybody for that cheer. So today's talk can be on facing history ourselves and the convalescence. Convalescence means gradual healing. I can't seem to put this in the background, so we'll do it like this. Now before we start, I just did write this on Facebook. If it is ubiquitous, like chicken or milk, guarantee it's not good for you. That's all I'm going to say, and leave your own health to you. And I just wanted to say, for your information, I have started Personal Jesus life coach style paid sessions, which you can make an appointment with me. I think my email and stuff. There's an email form on this page here on the merchandise page. Anyway, let's start with that, because Veronica, you sent me... Where's that article? There, no, that's my video. There. Study suggests milk doesn't strengthen your bones. Let's open that up. Because this Pamela is now recording my whole screen, so Veronica, you're just in the background. I've got the article open. Study suggests milk doesn't strengthen your bones, it ages you instead. We've been brought up to think that drinking milk is good for our bones, but new research suggests that not only is this false, but the sugars in it may actually be accelerating the age process. So I haven't read this yet, so let's read this. A research team from Uppsala University in Sweden has found that women who drink more than 3 glasses of milk per day were more likely to break their bones than women who drank less. This finding was part of a study conducted on more than 100,000 people in Sweden, based on how much dairy they habitually consumed. The researchers monitored the diets of 61,000 people, or women, between 1987 and 1990, and 45,000 men through 1997, by asking them to fill out questionnaires on how often they ate common dairy products such as milk, cheese and yogurt. The health of the female participants was monitored for 20 years after the questionnaires and for 11 years afterwards for the males. Publishing their results in the BMJ, the team says that in women, high milk intake led to a greater risk of bone fracture, and in both men and women it was associated with a higher mortality or death rate. They told the BBC those who had a high milk intake also had a 50% higher risk of hip fracture. Now, we don't need to read the rest of that article, that's pretty much covered it anyway. and that's from sciencealert.com. Now, yeah, so that's very interesting. So now we're back on the screen with me and Veronica here. That's very interesting and synchronistic that you sent that to me, Veronica, because you know, I've got a Blog Talk radio show with Mariah Starr on Wisdom Hour coming up. I think I'll do it on Friday, and it's Tuesday today. And I put all those talks, all the radio shows I go on to, I put all those talks into the Golden Transformation broadcasting page in Consciouszine. It's near the end of the More menu. So in the front page menu of Consciouszine.com, on the Golden Transformation broadcasting page. Okay, so I think it's synchronistic that you sent that, because that talk is what I also want to talk on today, and that is facing history and ourselves and the convalescence. And that Milk article was just a really good example of how we've been, you know, kind of led astray during history. History was a lot of hearsay. Now why? Because we burnt books like idiots. You know, if we didn't burn all the good books and, you know, burn a lot of knowledge, I dare say we wouldn't have trekked so far from the truth. But also, obviously, because we've got science now and we can do all these studies now, so obviously that's, you know, the main reason that we're finding all this stuff out. But what I mean to say is there was a process of history, an epoch, or a creode, a cycle of completion, maybe, I don't know, 11,000, 20, whatever, how many ever, like, years long. The thing is, you shouldn't think of it just as an epoch, because you got to think of these resonances, and it's very difficult for me to explain. I don't want to, like, make this whole video on that, but resonances, you know, sort of move through this matter, these energetic resonances. And of course, I'm once again referring to Terence McKenna's time wave and the resonance theory, so you can YouTube that. So yeah, I'm going to pretty much just go on to Radio with Mariah's Blog Talk Radio on Friday and talk about facing history and ourselves. And that's one thing we're facing, you know, that, you know, well, let me put it this way. What would you say to me if I said to you, soon, you know, in the next 10 years even, we'll be eating phytoplankton and algae? Algae and phytoplankton. What would you say? Well, I know every meat eater out there right now would be going, oh, that's it, I'm turning the video off. But no, it's true, because for instance, that video I shot for Anarchy in the $30 Bandit Food Plant Teaching Series was on Nanochloropsis gaditana, and that's a type of phytoplankton. And now this phytoplankton it contains straight ATP packets. What's an ATP packet? It's an energy packet that our DNA and our mitochondria and our cells use. So when we eat food like meat, milk, anything, when we eat food, normal food, you know, we have to go through the process of digestion. Now, what that does, eating the Nanochloropsis, for instance, and other phytoplanktons which contain packets of ATP, it means it bypasses the whole digestion process. And so that whole sort of traumatic process, and you're like, what, traumatic? I like eating. Yeah, but it's traumatic for your body. Why? Because every time you eat food, especially cooked food, well, actually with raw food apparently you don't get this, but every time you eat cooked food, you get a leukocyte reaction. A leukocytic reaction is a white blood cell reaction because it's something foreign entering the body. And so yeah, it's funny, we're going to be eating algae and phytoplankton. I mean, if you told me that 5 years ago, I probably would have went, I don't know. But I'm definitely, I'm going to buy some as soon as I can afford it, you know. You can go on to several websites on the internet. I don't want to name any and be a marketer. But yeah, so we've come to the end of history. I've got heaps of movies on it, heaps of YouTube videos on it. I'll be making more because that seems to be my rigmarole. I seem to be getting a lot of information on the end of history. I'm not just copying Terence McKenna, I just seem to get a lot of information on it. So obviously Terence McKenna is the guy with the final word, because he's got the time wave, he's got the software, he made it, he shot videos on it, and he knew all about it. So he's the go-to guy when you want to know about the end of history, in my opinion, because I've been scouring the internet a bit. And for instance, there's this reading out there that's called The End of History and the Last Man Standing, and it's not by Terence McKenna, it's by some other scholar, I think an Asian scholar, I forgot his name, but it's called, and it's a PDF, and you can Google it, and it's called The End of History and the Last Man Standing. Now, I started reading that, and I was like, meh. It wasn't giving me any deep ontological etiology. There was good quotes throughout it, like from Ty-Nietzsche Thatch, or whatever that Taoist sage guy's name was, and people like that. So it's something that you can read and learn from, but I was a bit meh on it. I like to go a little deeper, and it was more of a surface anecdote of the end of history about in more industrial, more, on the surface and societal. So it's the end of society, and society's dying in riots. And, I'll make a video on that soon too. I think I already did. Oh no, I think I mentioned that in my Philosopher's Stoned video. Anyway, so we're at the end of history now. So that was just a little talk on that. So now what? Well, there's a convalescence. And, convalescence just means a gradual healing, and that's what's happening. And so getting off milk, that's part of it. Getting, off wheat and bread, that's part of it. Apparently there's 55 diseases, or diseases, connected to wheat. And I don't think it's just the gluten part, I think it's wheat. And that's why people are eating spelt, and, people are turning, I know a girl who's turning to corn crackers, and you've got to be careful, because corn can also be GMO, and it's also ubiquitous. Like I said in that status just before, if it's ubiquitous, I bet it's not good for you. It's mass produced, it's like robotic food, it's produced in production lines, you get contaminations, and packaged in biphenol A packagings, and the whole deal. And so we've got to face all this. Now, we're not even talking about facing, war, society, psychopathy, whatever else. We're just talking about food right now, and facing food and ourselves. So Veronica here on the screen, who's also part of Consciousazine Productions and has her own page in Consciousazine, when I go to her healing center in Uruguay next year or the year after, it'll be like I have a page in your healing center, like she has a page in Consciousazine. I'll have recorded sessions where I do chi, prana, kundalini techniques and meditative Qi Chi yogitation, and talks on psychedelics too. Now there's a point to expand on, I reckon, in my opinion, psychedelics, because there's this whole taboo and voodoo surrounding, well, not voodoo, but, shmoodoo surrounding psychedelics, and that, the psychedelics are not good for you, because the hearsay and the Chinese whispers say so. Years ago, when I lived up the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia, I had friends, we all done that sort of stuff, whatever we could really get our hands onto, really, because it was so scarce in this farce. What's a farce? It's a joke. So, yeah, because psychedelics were so scarce in this farce, we would get our hands onto whatever we could. And that's what it's become. Society's become a big joke. You've got governments turning people into infants, and, saying, oh, you can't even grow plants. Remember, I made a video for, I think, Gypsy Cannon, and in the $30 Bandit Food Plant Teaching Series, and I had to make that video for her because in her state in USA she can't grow a garden, a food plant garden. And I was like, what? And America's got all these crazy laws, like you can't collect rainwater. That's what I mean, it's getting ridiculous. And that's what happens at the end of the system. You've got that Nestle corporate CEO, the CEO of Nestle, the chocolate products, saying that he doesn't think that the public has the right to water. And yet his company is draining the Colorado River of water. So, I mean, it's all getting ridiculous, and insane. Now, yeah, back to the psychedelics, because, I mean, that's my forte, and that's what I love, and, I'm a techno-shaman amalgaman dreaming awake at the end of history, and all that. So, it's funny, because we're going to see now, we've got this whole... Me and Veronica made a video called Synthetic Society's Miasma, and in that video I was just basically overviewing. It was like a meta overview. We didn't go into the particulars, but I mentioned the Black Alliance. And no, I'm not a racist, and I'm not talking about Aboriginals or black-skinned people. Because, believe it or not, some people thought I was saying that I was being a racist in doing that. So simple-minded. But, so the Black Alliance is just, the opposite of the Light Alliance, what me and Veronica are a part of, and the whole movement of information and the tremendous movement of information is part of the Light Alliance. We're trying to shed some light on subjects, and we're the ones already facing history in ourselves. Now we're trying to get everyone to face history in themselves instead of be ignorant and be the surface area of ignorance of the sphere of understanding that's always expanding. So I mentioned the Black Alliance in that, and that's what we have. And people, even you can go as far as to say about the war. We're in perpetual war. It's not the way. I saw a picture that said, America's healthcare system is, gone to up shit creek without a paddle, and etc. And I love that Australian saying, up shit creek without a paddle, because it means you have to use your hands in a creek full of poo. And that's where we're at now. That's where we are at. We're up shit creek without a paddle. We've thrown our paddle. We burnt the books. Now we've got to remake all the books. And lucky we've got science, a proper method of thinking. And at least one good method of thinking besides intuition, And so the psychedelics have been put on the back burner. And everyone seems to think psychedelics are erroneous. In the whole New Age movement, people are saying, once you get your third eye clear and all this, you don't need them. No, bullshit. You don't know what you're talking about. They're always helpful for anyone. And people say, there's these crystal children with 12 strands of DNA open and, they're fully enlightened. No, they've just got an upper Danjan working, which is a bit different from most people. Their crystal room or their third eye is actually working. And so things are crystal clear for them. And they're not susceptible to brainwash and societal doublethink as much. So the psychedelics have been put on the back burner like, no, they're bad for you, they make you hallucinate. Yeah, but what is a hallucination, my friend? Tell me that, because I think, there's many ways to talk about a hallucination, and we're not going to go into that. For one way, it's an inner language. So a hallucination sometimes can be inner language from your body. So if that's detrimental to see yourself, you're a bit loopy, in my opinion. So, number one, you can already see, from that one point that psychedelics are helpful for everyone. If they make you see your own innards, and your own insides, and your own thinking, your own psychosomatica, well, obviously that's pretty good. You don't have to go pay money to see a counsellor or a psychoanalyst or therapist, So they're a big part of this, because we've got this whole organic movement. I've been watching a lot of David Wolfe from the longevity conferences lately, and he's definitely number one, in my opinion. He's like the genius in the health movement. And and they're all into their healthy food and eating healthier. And that's actually where I found out about Nanochloropsis gaditana, the phytoplankton. And lo and behold, he takes San Pedro. He does ayahuasca too. So I was very happy to see that. I was like, oh good, he's not rigid, and not an idiot who's rigid. And so that was very good to see. So what's going to happen is we've got this whole organic movement now, because it's all gotten ridiculous. We've got mass-produced food. It's all synthetic and crazy. When you look into it, even on a shallow research, if you start looking into packaged foods, there's much more in them than on the label. It says nutrition facts. It says saturated fat, this percentage, sodium, and might even say potassium if you're lucky. It's ridiculous. And how many sugars in it. It's just ridiculous, because it doesn't say, all the other contaminations. So in other words, the label reads, none of your fucking business. Buy it, none of your business. That's what it says to me. That nutrition information's nothing. Who cares? Oh, it's got sodium and sugar in it. No, that's not really giving me nutrition facts. That's like obvious, like, most food has sodium and stuff, So what we're doing now is we're really trying to get that is a resonance that is reverberated through society. We want everything to say the full list of ingredients, but not only on products. We need businesses to say, like, what are they doing? We don't know some of their shady practices in the background. And, for instance, are kids in China making your shoes, for Nike or something, So that's all coming to the forefront, and now we're facing ourselves, because we're being the consumers of those Nike shoes, So we're the ones that are really at fault, because we gave power to that. And so that's what I mean by we've got to face ourselves in all of it too. So these psychedelics specifically, because we've got this, we're stepping out of the synthetic society's miasma, and we're not going to go into that because we already did in the other video, that process of densification and all this stuff, the disconnection and the fall, the history. There was some kind of fall away from the Gaian Logos. Now literally you can see this from, we wear shoes and we're disconnected from the earth. And now if you start watching David Wolf, you'll find out that they have grounding technology. You can get a grounded mouse pad, a grounded car pad, so that when you're driving you're not disconnected, you're not ungrounded. And you feel the difference, trust me. When you go sit on a computer for several days and then go sit on the grass, you suddenly clear out, and that's grounding. The process of the negative electrons or anyons establishing themselves, so that you're not in a cation state. These are two different types of ions. I think the anion is where you have more electrons than positrons, and the cation is more positrons than electrons. I hope I got that right. But either way, it's the process of grounding is getting your negative charge back, because you were positively oxidizing, and that's that major cause of aging, the oxidization, why everyone's all up in the air about eating antioxidants. So to bring it back, we're stepping out of the synthetic society's miasma, and we can see how we were disconnected, even with the shoe thing. We're walking around with shoes, just literally walking on the earth disconnected. It's just funny. And so what's going to happen now, we've got the whole organic movement. People are starting to realize, the only way to feed the world is by small-scale organic gardening, which we're all starting to move into. And there's a UN report on that, United Nations report on that, so I'm not just pulling it out of my arse. And it's obvious, because we can't survive on Nikola Tesla. I saw a Nikola Tesla quote yesterday. He said, yeah, we're going to create all these synthetics, rah, rah, rah. And then the second part of the quote was, whether we can survive on these synthetics is another matter, and he didn't think so. So there you go. Even Nikola Tesla predicted this and saw this. And so now what we've got is this whole organic movement. Basically, it's an organic movement. Even meditation is an organic thing, right? So, we're on the food, great. People have made it there, I'm happy about that. But the next level is mind over matter meditation, psychedeliation, and obviously self-education. I call them the big three. But let's stick with those first two, the meditation, obviously. Why? Well, Bruce Lipton in 2010 came out to the world saying the membrane of the cell is the intelligent part of the human cell, not the nucleus where all the proteins are being built and all that. That's actually just like a little factory. But the membrane, and you can think of it like your skin too then, right? The membrane of each cell is the intelligent part too. Now, what was I going to say? Yeah, so he called that the biology of perception, or the biology of belief, that if you're hitting yourself with a depressed state every day, or you're emotionally distraught or unhappy every day, you're creating certain neurochemicals, and that's affecting all the cells in your body, not to mention the desynchronization of the waveforms of your cells, right? And we're not going to get into that higher end right now, but just on the basics of chemistry and lower biology, we're affecting our cells with our thinking, basically. And you can rewrite your DNA with words, by the way. Look into that. Google that. And I mean, this stuff is sort of obvious, because when you take a psychedelic, you can hum yourself out. Shamans will sing themselves out of a bad place. I've done this before myself. And you invigorate and you resynchronize yourself, and you sing yourself out of a bad corner. If you ever get in a bad space on I don't know, psilocybe cubensis or something, or ayahuasca, you can sing yourself out of it. So it's obvious that you can rewrite your DNA just via speaking. So that's why I've got to stop swearing a little bit more. I've got to do a less fuck. But on fuck, just quickly, when you're lower than the vibration of fuck, it brings you up to fuck. And it can be an outlet. And I've seen scientific articles that that's a good thing, because you're releasing. However, if you're vibrating really highly and you start swearing, like right now, if I start saying the F word, like I just did, I felt it in my heart, and I felt it, a dissonance. You know, it's a sort of cognitive dissonance I felt, and it'll bring you back down. So, therefore, it's neutral. It's not, to swear and say fuck is not positive, and it's not negative, it's neutral. It can be construed either way. And the same thing is with obviously everything, because we're in a polarity universe. So, obviously if you take too high doses, like a pound of magic mushrooms, you're going to die. Negative. However, if you take 10 grams, that is uber positive for you. It's over positive for you, you know. Why? Because mind is over matter. Tell me how we open and close our hand. Tell me how a tree grows. No, it's not suction and that crap. The levitation of the mind, and for the tree. And so, you know, reality is mind over matter, because Bruce Lipton really proved that in the laboratory, in vitro, in the petri dish. And, you know, he's really proved that, and he brought it to science, like, no, we really have to have a look at this. And if that wasn't enough, you've got the placebo effect. The placebo effect is where people are given sugar pills for their illness, and they get better. And they have fake surgeries. They'll cut them open, pretend to do heart surgery on them, and they'll suddenly be better after the surgery. Even just going to like one of these studies, these placebo studies where they dupe people in, they dupe them and say, yeah, you're going to get fixed today, and then they don't really fix them. They all get better, or 80% apparently get better. 80%, that's like most of them get better from it, just from biology of belief, right? And so, you know, I don't really need to explain that more. Placebo, biology of perception. Now, so therefore, the psychedelics are apt, because they're mind over matter. If you can correct your mind, and that's what they work on, the psychedelic substances, well then you're going to correct your biology too. And they are a big part of the asceta and Puritan lifestyle, in my opinion, too. And to those who think it isn't, you obviously haven't done your 10 grams, because it ends in whiter and whiter light. I've done this. I've taken almost 2 handfuls of the Gold Top, and I ate that, and, you know, it's a 7-hour trip, and the last 2 hours it ended in what I call whiter and whiter light, or I was just clearing. I was clearer and clearer and clearer. And in other words, no thoughts. So if I was in a depressed state, that thing is awesome. And science is now showing they're using the psilocybe cubensis and the psilocin, or the psilocybin in there, particularly, the main compound in that Gold Top magic mushroom, for treating post-traumatic stress disorder for people who have been to war and war veterans. So the science is all over this already. So obviously you guys haven't been researching and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You know, I've had self-experience, so I know it from experience as well, and I've been doing the reading. So if these things are good for you, for your mind, well, it's good for your body too. So I just wanted to say that we need to face ourselves and face the fact that because in 1920s and 1930s they brought out reefer madness videos, everyone thinks, you know, cannabis is bad for you and all this stuff. One, you will not get lung cancer. You can smoke it your whole life. Never. You're not going to get lung cancer. Two, if you juice cannabis, well, that's anti-cancer. We all know that. Harvard's done studies on THC itself, that main, or well, not the main, one of the compounds in cannabis, the one that's responsible for the sort of buzzing feeling that you get, the sort of depressant side of it, not the CBD, which is an upper. The THC is called a downer. Now, even that kills cancer. So when you juice raw cannabis leaves, it's pure anti-cancer, and people are being put on oil. You know, we've got Rick Simpson from Canada, for instance. He's been going on about it since the 80s. I think you take 2 grams a day or something. I can't remember the dose exactly, but you'll take like a gram in the morning and a gram at night of cannabis oil, and it'll cure cancer within, I think, like a month or something. So, I mean, there you go. So what happened in the 1920s and 30s was DuPont, the timber company in the US there, didn't want hemp to take over their timber business. And so obviously it was good for business to make cannabis seem like an evil thing. And they made movies such as Reefer Madness, where on the cover it has a girl and it says, "Turns her into the devil." So, you know, it was just utter brainwash. And this is what we have to face, basically, our cognitive dissonance and our double think. What's double think? Well, it's brainwash. Double think is where you should have your own thought, but you haven't had the experience or you haven't done the study, and instead you use a thought that you've been told by society. That's what double think is. For instance, I remember watching Alex Jones's video, and the cameras were there, and he was interviewing it was an Australian guy actually, and he was a shop owner, and he said, "Oh, what do you think about the cameras up there?" And the shop owner's like, "Oh, they're alright." And yeah, some people are going to say that they're watching this video and they're going to be like, "Oh, they are alright, Ben, they stopped crime," and yeah, okay, whatever. You're entitled to your crappy opinion. But yeah, it was a whole cognitive dissonance of that we're getting up this police state, the Orwellian state. If you don't know what Orwellian state is, it's George Orwell predicted this stuff, the insanity at the end here, that we would all, it's awkward, we're spying on each other. That's fucking awkward. You know, we don't want to be spying on each other. We want to be concentrating on our insides and getting our magnus opus magnified into the world through our translinguistical lens in the forehead and our light body. So I mean, this stuff all runs very, very deep for me, and as you can see, I can just keep talking about it. So the convalescence. So to have a gradual healing, firstly, we do need to pass. What's the first stage we need to pass through? We need to pass through the first stage, When you go to Alcoholics Anonymous, which I've never done, but if you go to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, what's the first stage? You've got to step out of denial. So that's the first thing. That's why I called this talk, facing history and ourselves and the convalescence, because we've got to firstly get to the first point. The first point is obviously facing ourselves, right? Can't have any healing until we really face ourselves properly. And so that first stage is stepping out of denial. Now, the convalescence is going to come about in many ways, and I mean that's very complex to talk about, but even just by that, even just by looking at ourselves instead of not looking, So there's going to be this gradual healing and a convalescence or a galactic calm. Anyway, I want to stop talking for a second. Do you have anything to say on this, or? No? No. Okay, I'll just keep talking. 1 second. Yeah, I just wanted to do this video today because I got Pamela, and yep, it's already over 36 minutes, and I've been using that Screencast-O-Matic, and you can only go 15 minutes, so I wanted to go a bit longer, and so I just thought we'll pump something out today, see what we can get out of me. Alright, back to the food. So for instance, we've killed in the last 2 human generations, so what, the last 100 years or so, we've killed 52% of vertebrate animals. It's an animal holocaust. It's an absolute slaughter. And not only is this felt in the conscious grid, and it's ridiculous because of that, because you're actually doing yourself harm by that. And also what you're doing is your inward diversification means, less knowledge for you. When we cut down 19 acres a day in the Amazon forest, that's not a good thing, because that's the most highly complex on Earth, and there could be a cancer cure in every second plant for all we know, They're continually, they're finding all these cures in the Amazon for whatever, all types of things. And, so if you just cut down that today, maybe we lost 1 cancer cure today, 19 square kilometers of forest was cut down today in the Amazon, and maybe we lost a cure for Alzheimer's or something, or Parkinson's, or, So, and you will age. You will get older, and you will face some of these things, because the normal diet, I like what David Wolf said about this, the normal average diet, you're lucky, only lucky if you can avoid any of those things. Alzheimer's, dementia, etc. Thyroid problems. I've lived with people with that. It's not good to see, and it all works to dement the being and create static and discord, and you can't do your magnus opus, your reason for being then. You're going to be a corporate stooge for the rest of your life, Your one life as you've wasted then. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so, what was I talking about before? Yeah, so you're lucky to avoid all this stuff when you start getting 60, 70, 80, 50. Heart disease, cardiovascular disease, whatever. You know what the number 4 cause in America is for death? It's properly, not improperly, but properly prescribed pharmaceuticals. And I lived with a lady who had a fridge full, or, the top shelf was totally full of pharmaceuticals. I said, what is that? I said to her, when I have time, I'm going to go through these, look what the chemicals are in there, and then try and find you some organic cures. And I didn't have time because she kicked me out, the idiot. So unlucky. Stay in your miasma. Anyway, so we've got to face all this, that the pharmaceuticals, I have a saying, etiology, which is causality, the study of causes in your life, nature, whatever. Etiology without psychedelics is like treating disease with pharmaceuticals. I like that one. And that's an absolute last resort. to go on a pharmaceutical, you know. Now, what else can we mention? So yeah, we have to face, like, this milk article. We have to face this. Like, I've seen other studies that the highest osteoporosis rates are in the Scandinavian countries. For instance, where my background comes from, I have 500 years of Dutch background, and that's a Scandinavian sort of country up there. Sweden, Switzerland, all those northern sort of European countries. And Dutch are big on cheese, and my parents are still eating cheese and milk and stuff, I think. And I think I told them that, and, you know, they're steadfast. Well, what can I do, you know? I can only tell you. I'm not going to force you into a chair and feed you Nanochloropsis garditana, although I want to. But, yeah, so we've got to face all this, you know. We've been led astray. I don't know, what else do I want to add in here? Come on, Veronica, that's why I need you here to mention something else. Meditation. People, well, you know, people think it's erroneous to take psychedelics. Not only we're going to move straight past the fact that people think they're bad for you, because that's just nonsense. And we can go to the second sort of thought on a psychedelic by normal people, which is that it's erroneous or not needed. Well, I don't know the statistical babble surrounding how many people need to go see a psychologist every year, but I bet it's very many people, quite a lot of people, and counsellors and, you know, all this. All of that can be done away with because these things take you inside, so you counsel yourself. Now, same thing with meditation. However, the thing that I like to say is 7 years around the ashram, worshipping some monk or some school of thought, and, you know, having to sit at the feet of some monk and do it that way, 7 years of that around the ashram, or 7 hours in the presence of the cubensis mushroom. That's what it's like. These are they're like history has ended and banged into the eschaton, into a naked singularity, a concrescence, or a white head point, which we're now gone through, like a white hole. Terence McKenna in his video, I remember he goes, "Do you see? The universe has been shrunk down to an atomic dimension and handed back to us, do you see?" And I agree. That's exactly what's happened. Now, the psychedelic, you can hold it in one hand, and I went, oh, that is the best way, you know. It's shrunk down to a psychedelic. You've got the universe in there, essentially. Now, each one's a different teacher, so it's like going to Earth School. You recognise that? It's like going to Earth School. You've got all your different teachers. And, you know, I'm not saying meditation's erroneous, no way. They work in tandem. And so all I'm saying is that these things can speed it up. They can definitely speed up the convalescence or the healing. Okay, anyway, what else can we talk about? We're probably just going to keep talking about that. Yeah, because everyone's ignoring it, you know, and I have all these hippie people, or not hippies, I'll just call them New Age airheads. They've got nothing upstairs, I think, for their own. It's like they're brainwashed in instead of societal brainwash, they're brainwashed in esoterica. So they've gone too far left, they've gone too far right when they were too far left, because obviously, you know, they were societals, and, you know, we're all somewhat very connected to our society, and then they've gone too far the other way. You need to have some balance. So these airheads will say to me, oh, once you clear your eye, once you do this and that, you don't need them anymore. Well, I don't know about that. Like I've already said, I've already mentioned some things like to do with that they're like a speeding up effect, and, you know, a deepening effect. And we don't know what's happening here when we're dimensionally traveling through the 6-dimensional threshold of geometry. Say when you see Mandela and you cross through it, and then you go into the higher dimensions, and you go all these places. It's really weird. All these domains or other universes, I don't know. But, you know, the psychedelics seem to give you energy to push you there even quicker. Like, I can sit there and meditate and not achieve that amount of energy burst for hours. I can sit there sometimes for hours and just not achieve it, and I'll get frustrated. And then I can smoke, one joint, and then I've got the energy, and I'm straight up there. So I mean, they're definitely not erroneous, So I really think they're a big part of the healing, or the convalescence. And if you don't think there has to be a convalescence yet, you will, because everyone has to be affected by the eschaton, the end of history, the apocalypse. Everyone has to be affected by the apocalypse. It's a learning thing. It's everybody in the world will be touched by it. There won't be anyone left out, not Bill Gates, not Obama. Everyone will be touched by it, in one way, in one form or another. The whole apocalypse will touch you, and it's an uncovering. It's showing you really what's going on, and that your stupid ego thinking was erroneous. And then to mention the wars, the perpetual war thing, what I think we should probably doing is, actually let's skip that one and go straight to the renewable thing. I heard Tony Abbott, the Prime Minister of Australia, on TV yesterday say, coal is an integral part of the world economy, and coal is our main energy source or something. I went, okay, so? And he said, well, it makes sense to, put all our energy and money into coal. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy is leading our country. He's not even a leader, because he's looking in the rear view mirror. That's rear view mirror looking. He's not looking in the windscreen out the front, is he? Because solar, all power comes from the sun. The sun makes all this stuff happen in our atmosphere, even the wind and stuff. So you got everything happening from the sun. So it makes sense to go straight to the source. Now, I remember in 2009, I think it was, there was $9 billion spent on fossil fuel subsidies. If we took that $9 billion, instead of subsidizing, which is band-aiding, putting a band-aid over the, it's a symptom, treating symptoms instead of the cause, which is what they were doing. So instead of putting a band-aid over it, let's figure out why we scraped ourselves, And so solar, obviously, and renewables. I mean, most people right now will be going, yeah, this is obvious. Yeah, well, I think it is obvious too, but apparently the Prime Minister of Australia doesn't. So, I mean, it's worth talking about then, I think. It warrants a mention. So a big part of the convalescence is going to be free energy, because what we've got now is a system on Earth where we've got a lot of energy stealing going on. There's not enough energy to go around, and we've got 7 billion people, and we're going to 10 billion, and it's not going to stop at 10 billion people. We might have 20 billion people on Earth before we leave to space, because we're not putting, again, like fossil fuel, like renewables, we're not putting money into space flights, space exploration. I've said this so many times. There's a whole planet Lucy made of diamond. Mars has 6 times the iron ore than Earth. Asteroids in our Kuiper belt, or whatever it's called, have, water. 3 or 4 different types of water. There's dry water, there's wet water, and there's 4 types, I think. So, I mean, there you go. So what we've got now is a lot of energy stealing going on planet Earth. What do I mean? Well, resource cannibalism is a great example. What's resource cannibalism? Using oil to gather coal. It's just nonsensical when we can get rays from the sun on a solar panel and meet more than enough energy just from solar we can get. I calculated myself in 2010 in one of my university assignments for I think it was ethics, business ethics subject of some sort. I calculated that the Earth, the amount of radiation that comes to Earth's surface is apparently only 1% of the actual sun's energy, but even that 1% of the sun's energy is 5 times more than the 2007 world energy consumption figures. So I mean, we've still got at least 4 times more that we can get just from solar than our energy needs that we need. So there's more than enough. We live in an abundant universe, yet everybody is choosing the economy. The economy is a sham. For instance, in America, again, I like to pick on America because that's going to be the major turning point in the northern hemisphere. America holds the key to the turning point, and Australia in the southern hemisphere. So in America, you've got when people become unemployed for longer than a year, they drop off the unemployment roll, and that's why they've got so many homeless people. They're just forgotten. So I didn't know that until a few years ago. I was like, well, that's crazy. That literally means that the economy is a sham. It's a Ponzi scheme. And I just made a video called Fiat Counterfeited, Fictionalized, Fractionalized Black Alliance Banking Systematics. And fractionalized banking is because they don't even have the money that they say they have. Like, they only need 10% of the money. That's what fractional banking is, and that's what our world runs on. You can watch Zeitgeist, those movies, for that info. But that's actually true. They only need to have 10% of the actual money in the vault. And so it's a complete sham. And then you've got companies, the derivatives market is worth 10 times more than the economy. If 1% of the derivatives market crashes, it's all gone to shit. So I'm fingers crossed like this. Come on, crash. And I mean, yeah, it will be a lot of hurt for people and a lot of pain because you're all being ignorant and you're attaching yourself to the money system and stuff, and it's not a good move. You should be building your skills arsenal. That's a good idea. Building your skills. Educating yourself, like on foraging food and stuff, That's skills. Because it doesn't matter what happens in the world, you're still going to be able to find that certain plant around, and So it's not a good idea to attach yourself to the money system because we're at the upper echelons. It will crash. It can't just go on because have you not noticed? In 2010, the world was in debt $40 trillion. $40 trillion. And the money system's been going for a long time now. Why are we in more and more debt? It's because of the fractionalized banking and because money is created out of debt. It's not created out of worth. That's what's insane about all this. It's synthetic. Synthetic society's miasma. Miasma means a noxious influence or atmosphere. And indeed, our noxious state of mind is reflected in the planet's state. We've killed half of vertebrate animals. We've got ozone hole layers, ozone hole layer holes, which is like an aura reflection. We've got holes in our aura. We've got ocean or oceanic acidification, which is reflecting how everyone's body's becoming acid from eating too much meat and sugar and whatever. So a lot of people need to get on, and cancer rates are skyrocketing. Cancer is just going up all the time, going up. It's not going down, not yet. And the year is 2014. It's still going up. And properly prescribed pharmaceuticals are the number 4 cause of death in America. It's just ridiculous. So and the ocean acidification, how the ocean is acidifying, that's a reflection of how people's bodies and hence mind, because your body does affect your mind, people's bodies are toxicating and acidifying. And, it's well known since the 1930s that anyone with cancer has a pH that's too acidic. So, there's a whole deal about get on an alkaline diet. Then, you've got the energy stealing. What do I mean? Well, the ocean's fish are almost, what do they say, 90%, 80% of the world's oceanic fish, the pelagic fish, the large fish that we eat, mainly eat, they're gone, 80%. That's ridiculous. That means your kid's kid won't even be able to eat that. They won't even be able to have tuna unless we do sustainable tuna farming, There's lots of examples, but, You know, one good thing is krill oil. And you know how we all want to get our omega-3, our EPA, our long molecular chain EPA, I think it is EPA, omega-3. And that's good for your brain and lots of other stuff. And, you know, besides you being mostly made of water, what comes next, or one of the next things, is you got a lot of oil in you, then minerals. So people are always talking about remineralizing themselves. Well, actually, you need more oils. Actually, you need like 8, 10, 5, depending on your size, pounds of good oil to renew your liver and detoxify your liver every 2 months. So that's why I take a lot of coconut oil now. And I'll even eat the unrefined coconut oil, because to regenerate your liver every 2 months, apparently you need 10 pounds of good oil. So that's just if you're in a toxic state. Say you drink a lot of alcohol, you definitely need to be drinking a lot of coconut oil. So, you know, it's just obvious how we've come, like that video we made is obvious. Synthetic society's miasma. It's obvious. I shouldn't have to give more examples. So now what we're doing is we're seeing it, and that's for the reason of learning, obviously. And Polarity Site. Oops, my internet's cutting out. And so Polarity Site. Are you there, Veronica? Hello? You back? Yep, good. Sorry, the internet cut out. So the reason of this is Polarity Site. Transversing polarity to see is the way I say it. So we're having all this crazy stuff going on so that we see it, so that we deal with it and flip over to the good stuff. And so that's the convalescence, essentially, a gradual healing, because we can see that, you know, we're very unhealed, so to speak, in new speak. So it's funny, you know, George Orwell, Nikola Tesla, so many people predicted all this. Einstein, Terence McKenna. You know Terence McKenna, he said we've only got like 50 years. That's our window. We're fucked. Not the planet. The planet won't be fucked or up shit creek. It'll survive. It's going to keep spinning and it'll regenerate. But the human species, we've got like 50 years to deal with this. And just yesterday, only just yesterday, on the 3rd of the 11th, 2014, I actually watched TV because I'm back in a house now. I was watching TV and I watched the news, and it was ABC World News or something, and the UN, United Nations, came out with a report. Their leading scientist panel said we've only got 100 years to deal with fossil fuels and climate change. Some people don't even think climate change is a real thing because this whole Al Gore, they think Al Gore is part of the elites and the whole conspiracy nut stuff. We've got to move straight past the conspiracy stuff. It's true, I myself started there in the early 2007, you know, hearing about 9/11 and Inside Job and all this. We've got to, even if it was, and, you know, I'm tempted to say it was, and I've got facts on that, again, so don't mess with me. You can go to the activist page for all the information I've gathered on 9/11 being an inside job. So we need to move past that, but that's just the first stage of awakening. What happens in the process of enlightenment is catharsis, a purging, or denial and catharsis. So really it's stepping over denial. That's the first point. Getting over denial, so admittance. Let's start again. Admittance, catharsis, transcendence. Admittance, catharsis, which is a purging. So you'll be purging the old. By the way, psychedelics speed up all of these that I'm about to mention. Admittance, catharsis, awakening, transcendence, transmutation, double enlightenment. Peace. But yeah, that's the process of enlightenment, those 7 steps there. And that's like if you have the insentient ascension and the awakening, that's the process. And so it makes sense. A lot of people start in conspiracy and But what I'm saying is a lot of people have got too stuck there, and we need to move. Right now, I'm well into the second enlightenment stage, or that's finished. It's all over, is the stage I'm in now. That's done and behind me, because I surf the concrescence to the eschaton, and surfing the concrescence to the eschaton meant paying attention, and it meant paying it. My head was hurting every day. I had massive amounts of cortisol, the stress hormone, every day. I lost some hairline. Everything in that eschaton, into the final compressions into 2012, I was surfing the concrescence, and every day I was on it all day. Like some days it was 12, 16 hours a day of studying, and it was all this information was coming at me. And then I started consciousazine.com. So, how long have we been going for? 1 hour. Cool. And Veronica's still not fallen asleep, so I guess I can keep going, hey? Have you got anything you want to add? I know you can add something.
The point is that I am really...
Pardon?
I am learning.
You're liking me talking? Okay, I'll keep going. So, what I've mentioned there is kind of, I think, pretty obvious, but, so now let's just continue on this. If we ignore it, well, I remember Terence McKenna saying we've got like 50 years. That was just his opinion from all the study that he obviously did. He was saying, and that he died in 2000. So, he was saying we've got like 50 years to turn this all around. Otherwise, we're kind of done for. There'll be no fish left, So we've got to teach a man to fish. Here comes the personal Jesus. We've got to teach a man to fish instead of give him a fish. And so that's the whole point. And that's more organic too than synthetic. If you give someone a fish, that's, to my eyes, that will even fall in my category of synthetic. Giving a man a fish. If you teach a man to fish, it's an organic thing you're giving them, because then they can keep doing it themselves, organic, And if we don't do this, well, yeah, basically we've killed half of vertebrate animals in the last 2 human generations. So obviously in the next 1 human generation, we'll be killing like another 30% or something if we don't change our ways. And so what is this all about? What does it come down to? In my opinion, money. Comes down to this psychopathic money that we need exchange. Because people are so disconnected from the fall of history, away from the Gaian connection, or connection to the planet, and the rest of the universe. We're so disconnected that we think we need an exchange. If I give you this information, notice I'm not asking you to pay for it. If there was no money system, I wouldn't even ask anyone to pay anything, ever, for anything that I do. Now, I have to get people to donate to my food plant teaching series so that I can survive, because we're in the money system. If we had no money system, I wouldn't have to. I'd just shoot the videos and we'd all be enlightened just from me doing it, So we've got to get past this point, because what happens is there's something called synchronicity. 2 seemingly unrelated events creating like a meaningful, two unrelated events sort of creating a meaningful meaning, for lack of wording. So when I give to someone, I don't need to expect anything back, because the earth and the universe is like a sentient being. It's alive and conscious and all that. And you'll get given back. You are loved. It's not all just happenstance. You are loved. And it's like people are so disconnected they don't even think they're loved, and we have to fend for ourselves. And I've even had that mindset myself before. So we've got to just... the convalescence is largely going to be about reconnecting, because we've stepped... And also another major thing is We've stepped out of the box of history, poof, into maximum novelty domain, as Terence called it, or into the universe, as I say it. We've stepped from culture. Culture is a cult. We're stepping from culture into the universe. That's the way I see this. And so it makes sense to go with the zeitgeist, or the spirit of the times. It makes sense to go with that and not try to block that flow. See, there are people on the planet who are trying to block and stem the flow, and they'll be brought to their knees by the flow. And it's like a wave crashing on the shore. Like I said, everyone will be affected. And it's obvious, we're in a closed system on an Earth. We're not in space, we're not on multiple planets. So yeah. I guess this is pretty much what I'll be talking about with Mariah Starr on his radio show. He's just messaged me. Oh, up to 3 hours of a talk. Shit. I asked Mariah how long the radio show is going to go for, and he just said he can make it up to 3 hours. We've only been going for an hour. It's been like an hour and 15 minutes or something now, so I mean, an hour and 10 minutes, not even. So, bread, wheat, and meat. There's this whole deal about meat, and that, it's our main source of protein. And apparently everyone's a Paleolithic caveman, according to this argument, because that's a Paleolithic diet. If you go to a personal trainer, I once met a girl who had a personal trainer, and she was told to go on a Paleolithic diet, and meat is part of that. And so they think we're cavemen. And so everyone always says, you need meat for protein and iron, and that's absolute hogwash, fuckle ninny. I just made up a new word. It's complete shit. You're being fed merda. It's merda. That's how you say it in your language, hey? Merda. It's shit. So that's nonsense. We don't need meat at all, actually. Now, what did we discuss before? Nanochloropsis garritana, a type of phytoplankton that has ATP or energy packets ready to go. No digestion needed. Goes straight to your cells. Energy from food to cell. That's it. And so the meat is kind of the opposite. It's dead flesh. Not only have you had to put animals through trauma, which affects the conscious grid of the planet, not only have you had to put animals through trauma, and, some lambs, if you eat lamb, you're a heathen. Because those lambs, they get tied to a pole, and they're not allowed to move. That's fucked up. They're sentient, and like you, human, animals are sense-stored electrical waves. Think of an atom with electrons buzzing around it, the old school atom with electrons around the outside, where they weren't even aware of the electron valence shell. Now, just like that, just like you, animals have sense-stored electrical waves, emotivity. We have a sympathetic nervous system. I haven't studied it, but I'll bet you they do too. And, it's said the vagus nerve, which is here somewhere in the neck, is the empathic nerve. Animals have all of this too, They've got a little bit less brain evolution. That's it. It means that they can't, for instance, realise it's the eschaton, I was going to say. However, I bet you many animals do know it's the eschaton. Why? Because a sign of the time of the apocalypse in Greek means uncovering. I always repeat that. I echo that out everywhere. However, what I never say is the apocalypse is an apocalypse too, like not fire and brimstone, but like a falling of society, and in a bad way too, not just bringing the word apocalypse, not just taking and using the word apocalypse as uncovering. We should also remember that the apocalypse is meant very literally, like as in destruction and death. And so animals, I bet, even know some animals are smarter than humans and see it's the end of history because there's just death everywhere, you know. So I wouldn't be surprised. And so back to the meat thing. You're eating dead flesh. Not only are you putting animals through trauma and stuff and anti-diversifying the planet, which will make you dumber and dumber and dumber and dumber because there's less. And so if we continue on this path of lessening, of not expanding, it's like the surface area of ignorance is always pressing in. It is said that there is a sphere of understanding which is always expanding. Now the surface area of ignorance is always pressing in on it. It's the battle between light and dark. That's what it is. And so a guru stands on the edge. I'm a guru. Gu, what does that mean? It means master of the dark. Ru means master of the light. And the notion is balance. So I stand right on the edge there. And I'm a shaman. I walk edges. It's said shamans walk along edges of mountains. But it's also reverberated that we walk the edges of black holes, of going into insanity. Well, it's true. So meat. So not only are you creating all this trauma and de-diversifying like the planet, because it's funny, when you eat meat, you're eating dead flesh, and you're de-diversifying your own diet, because you're filling your stomach, which is that big, whatever. Say your stomach's this big and you're eating meat, well then you've just, say you eat a chunk of meat that big, you've just filled most of your stomach, which leaves less room for nutrients. Things other than iron. We don't just live on iron and protein and carbohydrates and, So it's funny. Yeah, so not only are you doing all those things by eating meat, the trauma, the de-diversification in the planet and your diet, you're eating dead flesh. And that's the epitome of a zombie, isn't it? Out of a cartoon. What does a zombie do? It goes around and eats people. So we're zombies. And we walk around like this, unconscious. Follow the leader who can't see. Follow Tony Abbott, the Prime Minister of Australia, who can't see. So we're zombies. Now I have a note called The Final Zombie Apocalypse, and it's about, I do this crazy stuff in there. People probably can't understand it, so I should probably expand on it. And in there I've got all these references, like a little 1 with an up, which goes down to the reference 1 and 2 and so forth. And one of the reference things is I eat light. There's a kundalini flux occurring. As soon as you reconnect to the earth, you'll get kundalini flux, not to mention chi and white, blue light and all this other stuff. But you'll get kundalini. Now in the future we'll have a whole science surrounding the spinal science, because it's the primal soul nectar. Something like the stars, maybe neutrinos, other types of exotic particles interact with it, I think, too. Make it through the atmosphere and everything. And so it's a primal soul nectar. And when you do the kundalini, you find this out. You get microdendritic evolutions of the axon and the dendrite, and then neuroevolution, neurogenesis, creating brain. So we're zombies. We're walking around like this. Follow the leader. I'm blind in the money system. I'm wasting my whole life for money. I have no purpose. Sorry. So, we're zombies. And you can see it reverberate. We're eating flesh. We're walking around like the zombie blind. And, this can't go on. We're in an incredible age of light. This can't go on. For instance, another instance kind of relates to this. Gold. Gold has been possessed. It is said that indigos and keepers of the flame, such as myself, empower gold Now, people might go, oh, what? You want gold, Ben? Oh, you greedy bastard. No, it's not like that. We empower gold and golden light. The gold light is said to be the center light. You know, when you got the electromagnetic spectrum, probably gold light is the speed of light, or maybe that's white light. But it's said that there's white with golden center, and that's the center. And, you know, that's what I'm empowering. And, gold has been possessed. It sits in banks, it sits in vaults. It's a spiritual substance of earth. And it's not being used right. And it's said we're entering the golden crystal age. Now, that's part of the convalescence, to use gold correctly, not just have it sitting there and look at it. Actually, and there's some studies on this too. Some people might call it pseudoscience, but I don't think it was. It was actual like petri dish studies and stuff with gold and blood. Apparently, gold is a super. It works for the blood energy and superconductive alchemical spiritual properties of the blood. So, and you've heard of the drink Ormus? I've had Ormus before. Ormus is not exactly the same as Orms, O-R-M-E, and then apostrophe S. These are infolded matter, as David Wolfe would call it. These are exotic particles that we haven't yet put into a periodic table, as other people call it. Apparently Orms are everywhere in the environment, and especially in sea salt. Now, Ormus is like a drink. Now, I know David Wolfe actually calls his Ormus drink Ormus, and I think it's got more to do with Orms. But what I had once was monoatomic gold, Celtic sea salt, which is really good sea salt, and colloidal silver. And just colloidal silver can heal you from getting common flu and stuff. You know, nano silver is really good. Apparently it can fight Ebola, but the government was blocking. That's a conspiracy theory, that they were blocking imports of nano silver to fight Ebola. And look what we've got, an epidemic. There's going to be apparently 10,000 people per month, like next month. It's November. In December, there'll be 10,000 people, I think, per week, getting Ebola. It's getting out of control. That's epidemic, like epitome of the word epidemic, right? Half of Africa's going to fucking die. Now, if you don't think that was elitist instigated, I don't know, I'm almost tempted to side with conspiracy theorists and say that was orchestrated, because there's this whole thing about Bill Gates and his vaccines and stuff. And I'll let you all look into that for your own time, and I don't really want to talk about that. What were we talking about? Yeah, using things appropriately, gold, Ebola, yeah, and Ormus, that's right. So I had Ormus, and what I noticed is it made a buzz up here. Well, if you look at that side diagram of the brain, the Egyptian Eye of Horus area, you can go on the internet. The Taoists call it the crystal room, the upper Danjen or upper Tanchen. Well, the third eye, in other words, you know, which is not the pineal. The third eye is a chakra or an energetic vortex. The pineal works in unison with the chakra vortex. Again, psychedelics act on your chakra system, thus increasing your hormonal endocrine system. So fuck you, all you health people who think that psychedelics are erroneous. As we know, hormones are the master switch. So there you go. I beat you in your own world. So psychedelics are really good for you because they're acting on master switches too. I didn't mention that before, but hormones are master switches. They interact with almost everything in the body. Look into it. Hormones. David Wolfe knows really a lot about hormones. Like he has a longevity video series of like 8 videos where he talks just on hormones. I lived with a lady who was on thyroid medication and getting cancer in her thyroid, and it was not a friendly environment to live with someone like that. They're psychotic and they're really, really ill. Like, and it's not cool, you know. It's not fun. I don't want to see people in pain. Anyway, Ormus. The Ormus tickled, I think, my pineal. Literally, like, tickled my pineal. That's what it felt like for half an hour. Like this buzzing, tickling feeling. And I met a girl years ago on the internet. She gave me a capful. We were having sex and stuff, and then I didn't see her anymore. And then I went, and that stuff was awesome. That's stuff that tickled me for half an hour, of a capful, just a little capful. And then I was so inspired by that, because I thought, oh, it really made me, sometimes I get like almost a soreness there. It might be calcification, you know. How everyone's got a calcified pineal. It shows up on MRI scans. A lot of adults, from drinking the fluoridated water, have calcified pineal glands. And that's not good, because that's your neuroendocrine system. That means you'll stop dreaming, less dopamine, less serotonin, less neurotransmission. You become dumb. You become stupefied. And that's the conspiracy that's happening throughout the globe, and that's why fluoride's in the water. Even Harvard brought out a study saying fluoride is no good. Look it up. I posted this just yesterday. And so why is it still in the water? It's not good for you. The Nazis used fluoride to dumb down people before they killed them. Hint, hint. So what I thought that Ormus was doing was decalcifying my pineal. Now, you don't have to worry too much, because as neuroscience knows, it's use it or lose it. How do you use your pineal? Meditation. Number one, psychedelics. So use it or lose it in the brain. If you don't use it, it shrinks and shrivels, basically, you know. When you think a lot, you create a lot more dendritical evolutions and neuro connections, right? Your brain schemata increases. You're learning. So what I thought the Ormus was doing was tickling there and decalcifying, and I bet you that's what people say it does. And then I was so inspired, I went on to the internet, and I found a website, and I bought and I purchased a whole bottle of this Ormus stuff, and it wasn't as good. It wasn't as good as the stuff I tried first time, and it didn't tickle the brain for longer than 5 minutes. So there you go. There's big differences in products, and definitely shop around, because this is something that's new. You know, we don't know much about Ormus yet. If you want to know the absolute forefront, in my opinion, on Ormus that I've found so far, type into YouTube David Wolf and Ormus, and he's got an eight-part video series where he's talking about orms in nature and Ormus. Okay, so that's just another part of all this convalescence, figuring out how to use everything appropriately. Because as I say, there is enough in this universe for every man's greed. You know how people say, there's a saying or a quote that goes something like, "The earth has enough for every man's need, but not for every man's greed." However, I've upgraded that to say, since the universe is abundant, there is enough for every man's greed even. Now, I'm not, endorsing that, because greed's, one of the cardinal sins, and, it's just not really a good idea. We're not going to go into why, basically, there is enough for everyone's greed if you really want to get down to the punnet of it, because the universe is abundant. So now, if we use everything appropriately, there won't be energy stealing going on, no resource cannibalism, nothing, because we'll have more than enough, and you'll be elated, ebullient, and ecstatic and happy. Every day I get angry at my computer. It's Stone Age technology. It's inferior product creation. The new iPhone that comes out every year, that's inferior product creation. And I heard about the innovation angle on that. Oh no, but we pump that crap out every year for this reason. I went, oh, you sales snake, marketing snake oil bastard. And I just thought, no, that's hogwash and bullwhip. So, part of the convalescence is to use things appropriately. Let's talk more about that. How do we use a shaman appropriately? I'm a shaman, and I believe I need to be used appropriately. Now, Veronica here, she'll remember this when I said this to her. Remember when I said to you, Veronica, if you don't use me, if you don't listen to me, and don't use me appropriately, I'm absolutely useless to you. Now, I said that to Veronica a couple of times, like a year ago. I said, if you don't listen to me, I'm useless. Absolutely useless to you. I'm just a drain. And that's the thing about a shaman. We've been ignoring them throughout history because non-shamans can't see like the shaman, so it's like a catch-22. So we need to use people appropriately. Well, not use, because we should be using things and cherishing people. We're doing it the other way around. We're using people and cherishing things. And so we're going to flip that one around. We definitely have to flip that one around. Stop using people and start using things, and start cherishing people and stop cherishing things. And also, while we're on the cherishing thing, stop mourning the dead more than you cherish the living. That's a big one for me. People mourn the dead. Well, cherish the living more. How? What am I talking about? Well, me, for instance. I'm a great example. I've almost, starved because people wouldn't cherish me enough. Give them endless information. Talk all day, post a million links, and they're still not satisfied because I'm antithetical to society and they're societally brainwashed. So yeah, we have to really use things appropriately, so to speak. Now, what's this whole thing about, they're brainwashed? Why do I always say this? Well, science backs me up. Thank God for science, so to speak. Because how does science back me up? Well, I saw studies on, I think Veronica gave me one a while ago that, what was that one on, Veronica, where you gave me the one where it was something about brain desynchronization. Like when you have your own vertical spiritual thought, vertical in your own light column, rather than horizontal made up of others' thoughts and doublethink, when you have your own thought, it desynchronizes your brain. And actually, I saw yesterday, it desynchronizes your brain from the herd. And yesterday, I saw another article that said, it was a TV program on SBS, and it was a study where they were asking them questions, and the guy was the TV presenter and he was the talker, and then he went through the study, and then at the end they were talking about it, and he said, that's why you asked me questions about what do I think about what other people think. And then the researcher said, yes, that's why, because we wanted to see, the researcher said, what would happen in your brain. And what happened in the brain? A little switch would go off that he was not being correct when he disagreed with what people said, like with the herd. So there is a literal surface virus, as I call it, where there's these organic portals who are not spiritually vertical. They're not post, pre-Insentian ascension. Insentian ascension via the higher heart into the upper chakras. They're just existing in the lower triangle of the Merkaba light body, or the lower three chakras, which have got to do with social, sex, hunger, feeding yourself, satisfaction. There's a big one, because I believe we should stop going to these sport matches while there's millions of people dying and 3 billion people impoverished, and we're still playing sport. And you need a better example of psychopathy? I don't think there is one. To tell you the truth, that's absolute ignorance. There's half of us are impoverished, almost half of us. And if you don't think you're impoverished, you're so wrong. You can't see how abundant the universe is. Like, no matter if you're a millionaire, you're impoverished. Even the millionaires, they're impoverished. They've got... The measure of wealth is not owning a few homes and, not even living in those homes, and you can't even walk freely around the world. Do you see what I mean? People are impoverished, trust me. In the future, we'll have anything we want, Now, we're getting there. We've got already a lot of choice in food and etc. Anyway, just take a step back. What was I talking about? What did I want to mention? Totally forgot what I wanted to say. Anyway, let's just keep going. So, you've got people playing sport while millions and billions of people are dying. It's a little ridiculous. Hold on, I have to put my charger in. That's right, energy appropriation. Every time you spend $1, that's a vote for what kind of world you want to see. So I always talk about this. I really want people to see where they're putting their energy. Are you putting it into the shit supermarket product that doesn't tell you it's, what it's laced with, how it's produced and everything? Or are you putting your money into a top-notch, perfect product, where you might get that from Daniel Vitalis's co-website, Thrival or Longevity Warehouse or Dr. Kazar's Earthshift products, Where are you putting your energy? In all manners, in all ways, where are you putting your energy? Every time you spend $1, it's a vote for the type of world you want to see. So instead of spend the $1, try and grow a garden. Well, that's just one example. So energy direction. Now, the eschaton itself is like a flip in energy thing, and I'm not going to go into that today because I'm going to have a whole, probably series, many talks on the eschaton, or three that I've already thought of anyway, like teetological time and the eschaton will be one talk, and then one talk will just be called the eschaton, and then another talk will be called the boy in the eschaton, which will be more my personal experience and surfing the concrescence to the eschaton. What's concrescence, by the way, because I always say that? Well, Alfred North Whitehead came up with this idea that things in nature grow to a nexi of completion, and that's why I always use what Rise of 5 from Goldring Game of Enlightenment and Abundance says, how the eschaton was like a naked singularity or a Whitehead point. Now, Alfred North Whitehead made up that word, Whitehead point, and Reiser calls it a naked singularity, and I call it a white hole. So we're all talking about the same thing generally. And so concrescence, you are a concrescence. When you walk into nature, when you walk through the forest, you're the most complex thing in that forest. The neocortex, the cortex, what's it called? The around the outside, the matter there, the grey matter, the cortex, right? Neocortex and then the cortex, yeah. So the cortex is the most densely connected thing we know of in the universe. And so it's the height of complexity. Therefore, that's why I always say, that's one reason I say there's no aliens out there. We're the height of complexity, trust me. And you say, oh, well, you can't, that's a bit of a jumping conclusion, Ben, because, we haven't explored the whole universe. And yeah, I'd agree with you, obviously, but I'm just guessing, but I'll bet you I'm right. and another reason I would say that there's no aliens is because Earth, and there's science backing this now. Terence McKenna talked about it, but now there's science. In his video, What's So Great About the Mushroom, you can get this gist too, that the mushroom is like an alien. It's going to go inhabit other Earths, other planets. Now there's science backing this now that, a mushroom spore on a tree, like a reishi mushroom, gets up on a nice big hill, because they're a conscious thing. They get on a nice big hill, they put their spores into the atmosphere. Those currents, I forget what they're called, they take them up to the atmosphere and into space, and the most densely electron valence shell that we know of, the mushroom. It's like metal. It's full of electrons, it's filled, and it can survive thus, and hence it can survive the vacuum of space and the radiation, because it's really a dense shell, electron shell, around the spore. And so these spores are leaving planet Earth. So what's happening? It makes sense that the whole universe, like Rumi, the great poet, said, you are a universe in a drop. Or as the microcosmic orbit taught me, I'm a microcosm of the macrocosm. Now, when we realize things are floating off the planet, I think it makes complete sense to say that the whole complexity of the universe has gone to Earth. We're the height of complexity, and now we're spreading into the universe. Notice all the planets we've found so far, all of them. None of them have life. None of them have for sure life that we know of. And I'll guess that there's no life there. And it's a guess. And fine, you can say, oh, you're probably wrong, you might be wrong, Ben. Yeah, you can say that, but because it is just a guess. But, you know, the test of time will prove me right, I think. And so this exobiological conundrum, as I call it, means that it doesn't mean, but it shows me yet again another reason for me saying that there's no aliens out there and that we're the aliens and that we're the height of complexity, or we are the concrescence in nature. Now it seems to be moving to the robots. And that's apt to talk about too, I guess. I don't know what we were talking about a minute ago. I forgot already. But the robots, you know, they're going to be part of the convalescence, because it means you don't have to work in McDonald's and waste your life like a robot. It means that you can sit there, wake up and meditate and have a good idea instead, and then contribute that good idea to the species, so that we get many, many good ideas and we have a really good idea place to live, to keep it simple. So, you know, the robots are part of the convalescence, and oh man, have I got my fingers crossed and hurry for them, because, you know, they're going to make shamans out of us all, you know. And Terence McKenna said, the shaman seems to be the vanguard of a new ontological sort of species. Yeah, it's very interesting, because I've had that own thought myself. Like, because of these dendritic evolutions that the way showers are having, we're having microdendritic evolutions. Now, look into what a dendrite is. Look into neurobiology and stuff. Now, the robots are part of the convalescence, because if you can have a good idea, it's going to make what I call a superposition humanity, where everyone's contributing. There's not as much static. It is said that there's a lot of static in our system. People don't know what they're doing. They've got no purpose. People are just working like robots, you know, purposelessly, without purpose, you know. And if you think that's a way to live, well, you go do that. I don't want to live like that. But so the robots are part of the convalescence, and they're going to make it so we can get this superposition humanity going and get all the static out of the system, and so that everybody can magnify their magnus opus great work into the world. Their reason for being. Your reason for being is not to work at McDonald's, you know, or the shop counter as a till, working on the till and saying, yes, $5, thank you. Yes, $10, thank you. That's a robotic action, right? This is obvious. And so the robots are definitely going to save us all, you know. By the way, when I saw the Roomba robot, that one that cleans your carpet, it's a little circle robot, and you set it and forget it, and it just cleans, and it's got lasers so it doesn't hit the walls and all that, I went, yes, hallelujah. I went, hallelujah. Why? Because I thought, yeah, that's the entrance of the cyborg into the home. It's really made itself visible to me. Because you can set it and forget it. It's an autonomous sort of being, which has got to do with a cyborg. Like our body is a cyborg. It's a biological cyborg because it's autonomous. And if you don't think so, and you're identified as your body, now you know what I mean by an organic portal or a 2D, 3D person. I'll expand. Let me expand. Our body, the only way I need to expand really on that is by saying two words. Involuntary reflex. Well known. You know, if you hit here, that happens. Involuntary reflex. That shows you that the body is an autonomous sort of cyborg thing. And that's the example of a 2D person. A 2D person is identified as the mineral body. A 3D person, also an organic portal, 2D and 3D people, a 3D person is identified as their zonal reality, their ego, basically. What's the third dimension of creation? Well, it's a zonal reality, really. The best way I can give you an example is in a fractal example. I am a cell of humanity. One of my cells in my body is one cell in my body, right? And it keeps going fractally down like this. Cells are made of molecules. Molecules are made of atoms. Okay, you understand? So it's fractalized like that. Each one of those is its own little zonal reality world. The atomic world, the molecular, you know? So that's a zonal reality. So that's what the third dimension of creation is. The fourth dimension is this astral emotional plane, and we're not going to go into dimensional theory. So the whole reptilians run the world thing that David Icke's been peddling, there's something to it. As crazy as it sounds, there's something to it. And it's got to do with what part of the brain they use, the reptilian complex rather than the mammalian complex. They use that more often. They're more in fear, and they like to make other people fear. I've met these people all the time. They'll act like they're really good, and they'll make you fear them. Like all these baby boomer, echo boom people, they're like that. Like I still remember at my last place I was living, I was having a science conversation with this guy, and he was a databaser, and I was saying something about solar consciousness, and he was saying, I'll prove it, and, you know, organic portal thinking. They need proof, they need surface, they've got no intuition of their own. They're not there, they are not present. Their soul rays, their star rays have not arrived yet. That's how I think it might be happening. Their body is created, then the soul sort of enters or something. I don't know. I don't want to leave it at that, but for now we're going to. I have to develop that theory myself. Anyway, so that's what I've always been talking about by 2D, 3D people. They're not multidimensionals. Me and Veronica here, we're multi-dimensional beings. We exist in the other dimensions. We can astral travel, and let's not go into the rest of it. So part of the convalescence, the robots, yeah. So, you know, we've got all these robot people, and I call them placeholders now. This came to me the other week. What's a placeholder? They're placeholders for the robots. What's a placeholder? Well, X plus Y equals Z out of algebra. Mathematics, arithmetic. Well, the X and the Y and the Z, they're placeholders for numbers, you see. So it's just to give you the idea. There's other examples, but like in computer programming, when I make a method, I make a function stub, and I start writing code, I can't straight away put the code in. I have to put placeholders everywhere, and then slowly figure it out and go back over it and stuff. So they're placeholders for the robots. That idea came to me. I went, oh, bingo! Because they're like placeholders for the robots. And, you know, these cities, they're toxic. You know, all the tires in the air. This is why you should be eating chlorella. By the way, Veronica, eat chlorella. Veronica, you've been asking me today about health. So there's one showing you the way. Because chlorella is chelation. It's pulling out heavy metals from our body. And we eat with nickel spoon, nickel fork, nickel knife, iron, nickel, right? We should be eating with wood. Because the nickel and stuff, what happens when you're clinking it around in a glass for the whole of your life? Of course you're eating the nickel. And it's not silverware anymore. Silver is good for you. But it's not. We don't have silverware. We have nickelware, and iron and nickel, you know, and metal. And this is not good for you. So we all need to chelate. We all need to have chlorella. And then there's spirulina, what you have after chlorella. Spirulina, you know, is a convalescence, and that'll heal you. That's a gradual healing substance. So this is all in relevance to this video, I guess. So spirulina is nutrient dense. Chlorella is more of a detox thing. So first you take chlorella, then you move to spirulina more. Okay? Alright, so back to the talk more. Now, they're placeholders for the robots, these organic portals. And when I thought this, as you can see now, I'm smiling because it's funny. Because now I've got it on them. I mean, this is obvious. Now I've got it all over them. Like, at first I couldn't explain this all properly, but now I can. And there's more to the story. I'll make a whole video on organic portals, but I'm just so elated that I've got it now. Because they're dickheads, you know, and they try and, like these scientific surface people, like that guy I was talking about, who tried to put me in fear and stuff. They shut down your viscera. When your viscera shuts down, guess what happens then? All healing modalities are off. Forget your immune system. It's gone. See ya. Not humoral. Humoral, the bile, the four humours, they're still active, obviously, because you've still got blood and black and yellow bile, and, you know, your gallbladder and your liver and all that. But the cell-mediated immune system, what people know as the main immune system, the cell-mediated immunosystem of our body, forget that. That's out the window. When your viscera shuts down and you go into flight or fight mode, your viscera shuts down, and you can forget your immune system then. And that's our whole society is based on this. Did you notice? I want to leave that sit with you for a second, because it's profound. Our whole society is based on fear. Do this, you go to jail. Do this, you're killed. You get euthanasia. You know, what other examples do you need? Don't pay your taxes and you go to jail. You know, think of all the other examples. The whole society is based on fear, and so no wonder everybody is sick. Now, what's happening here as part of the convalescence and the flip of the polarity of the eschaton is obviously we're moving from fear to love. That's another major thing, right? Another major theme in the movie of life. So we're moving to a sort of loving social structure or social fabric, rather than a fear-based do as I tell you fabric of society. So when I say I'm like this on the downfall of society and hoping, it's because I understand society and how it's fear-based and stuff. See, some people, they don't get it. It doesn't click. And they think, oh, Ben is so antithetical. He wants everything to die and society to just be wrecked. Essentially, yes. But only because of how it is. And like I just said, a fear-based society. So actually what I want to see die is that part of society, right? Okay? So that, you know, people don't just think I'm a nut. How long have we been going for here? This is good. I might just give this to Mariah, and then, because he said I can give him a recording. So actually I might just give this to Mariah, and then I don't have to do the radio show. Two birds with one stone, but we're not killing birds with stones. No. So anyway, yeah, I don't like that saying. I heard David Wolf advance that saying. I forgot what he said, though. He made it better. Because he said, no, we don't want to kill birds. We're not, Anyway, so the robots are like a part of the convalescence, and I want to talk more on that, because there's going to be cyborgs in the forest. Remember how I made a video recently called Cyborgs in the Forest? And I said, you know, there'll be a bird that can look out for a jaguar advancing on your position, or, you know, an apex predator coming to eat you because you're so disconnected from nature. You know that Shiva Puri Baba, he sat in the forest with all the animals. Remember, we watched that talk the other day by David Wolf. That Shivi Puri Baba guy who lived to 137 years old and lived with the Queen for 4 years after walking the entire earth, all the continents. Amazing. Anyway, so he sat in the forest and wasn't bothered by the animals because he was completely connected. This is the future state. This is how disconnected we are now. We actually fear all the animals in the forest. We fear spiders. We fear this. We fear that. When we shouldn't. We can be connected to everything. Trust me. So, you know, the robots will help, at least, you know, now in the near-term future, me be a botanist and catalogue cancer healing trees in the Amazon, for instance. And I said in my Cyborgs in the Forest video, you know, we're sort of destined to become more organic and more lighter and lighter beings. We're inscending and involuting. It's involution, evolution. And, you know, they're going to help us a lot. You know, you can be sitting there meditating while your robot goes and checks what substances are in the plant, does a little spectral analysis of all the substances in that plant, collates it to the internet, all the data on the internet, says, bing, Ben, this plant heals cancer. And then I wake up from my meditation and go, oh, okay, cool. Grab a branch and hopefully you can make cuttings from it and grow it. You know what I mean? So they're really part of the convalescence. Like, they'll allow us to go inside, get a lot more good ideas. And good ideas can't be underestimated and played down, because this world is in a crisis of consciousness and good idea hell. You know, we need more good ideas. And not enough floating around. Anyway, so yeah, the robots really, to my eye, are a really big part of this convalescence. And it's probably the reason I'm emphasizing is because, you know, a lot of people probably don't think it's part of the convalescence or something. And they're just thinking of the convalescence in a monotone way of their bio-revolution and the whole health movement. And as I've said before, do not mistake your bio-evolution revolution with ascension. Don't mistake your bio-revolution with ascension. Two different things. Now, ascension generally, not the esoteric version of, you know, heightening dimensionally and all that. The less esoteric version of ascension, just a general linguistic value of the word, just means stepping out of circles in a film of living. And so then the esoteric version is more stepping out of being a 2D, 3D person. A 3D person, remember I said zonal reality, ego. So they're just thinking about all the satisfaction they need for that day, thinking about their local family. They don't care what's happening on the other side of Earth. They will buy the Nike shoe. Doesn't matter if a 10-year-old girl is being whipped on the back making the shoe, you know, just for an example. So I have a note on bensnotes.weebly.com domain, that website that's connected to Consciouszine, that's about planetary mind and non-local mind. So you see, that's already stepping into a fourth dimensional feeling body. What comes after feeling is telepathy. So we're headed for telepathic, expanding, loving oneness. While there are others who seem to be boating the exact opposite way to the expansion of the sphere of understanding, that's those of the surface area of ignorance who seem to be boating and pushing against us, trying to stem the flow. You know, they even wanted to take the internet down. Did you hear about that? The Rothschilds wanted to take the internet down. Because they know their time's done. Yeah, the Rothschilds wanted to take the internet down, kaput. Because they know the tremendous upheaval of information that's coming out. The dark veil around Earth is being pierced. And they know, it's obvious, you know. You've got information flowing everywhere. Okay. Yeah, so the whole ascending thing, a bit more esoterically speaking, is ascending from 2D, 3D being, or being a 2D or 3D person, to accepting a fourth dimensional feeling body and a fifth dimensional light body. Now, a light body is an absolute concrescence in nature. The light body, me and you here, Veronica, we are like that. We are concrescences. And the light body is an absolute concrescence. Here's the way Riser from Goldring says it. The Goldring Game of Enlightenment and Abundance. I really like that. It's like my number one reference that I send people to. Because he really got the cosmogony and cosmological astrology of these times perfect. Like, I haven't seen anyone say more, you know. He covered it really, really deeply, esoterically well, and like Veronica said, she couldn't understand the video the other day. Yeah, I have to watch them several times over. They're so complex, which tells you they're the height of complexity, you know. So that's why I send everyone to him, or to his series. Now, anyway, Reiser said that the eschaton was this process of, get this, undifferentiated matter forming co-creative light bodies in co-creation, you know, or we have come, this Genesis Singularis cycle I'm always talking about, the 20 billion year cycle of the Milky Way precession around this central universal sun, is a cycle of becoming. I'll call it cycle 1 of becoming, and here we are in human bodies. Okay, you get it? And actually it finished with the robots, I guess, which is weird, huh? It finished with the robots, if you really want to be accurate. Yeah, they're a new ontos, complete new ontos. Now, this Genesis Singularis, cycle 1 of becoming, is the process of undifferentiated matter into light bodies in co-creation. So there you go. I just wanted to say that. So very interesting, and who knows what the next cycle holds. If the robots are only the beginning, huh? Crazy. I mean, we can't even imagine 100 years from now. Barely. I mean, I can. I know we'll still be in the hangover of history. That's right, this talk was meant to be called, with Mariah Starr, it was meant to be called The Hangover of History, Facing Ourselves and the Convalescence. So the hangover of history will probably go 500 years for all. Maybe it goes the whole 1,000 years. There will be some tone or some skerrick of the hangover of history. It'll slowly, you know, there'll be less and less pieces of the hangover left as the 1,000-year golden age convalescence occurs. Remember, the Bible even says there'll be 1,000 years of like healing. And I think that's where we are now. The eschaton's ended. Eschatology is about the end of culture. Look into eschatology. Essentially, that's what it is. The apocalypse. And then there's a 1,000-year period, and I'm going to call that whole period the convalescence. The whole 1,000 years where man becomes closer to God, or whatever it says in the Bible about all that. And it's a Satya Yuga vibe, not Kali Yuga. You know, Kali is dancing all around the world, destroying everything at the moment. That's Kali, or the Kali Yuga, from Hindu philosophy ending. And the Satya Yugic energy. See, I don't think they're cycles. I think they're resonances, by the way. And those Hindus just missed a little bit of it. And so I think they're kind of resonances. And it's a Satya Yugic resonance. The Yuga cycle is not really a cycle, and it's not going to keep playing out. You go Tetra Yuga, Kali Yuga, and you know, it's not going to go like that. They're resonances, and you just have to be able to see this stuff. And it's your job to see this stuff, by the way. It's not your job to sit at a counter saying, yeah, $5, $10, thank you, okay? So this whole convalescent period, this 1,000 years, there will be some skerricks, even in that last day in the 1,000 years from now, exactly 1,000 years from now, there will be at least one kernel of the hangover of history. Yeah. So, the organic portal thing really needs to be healed. People identified as their body and thinking that's all that they are. This has caused all this stuff in the world. Almost all the world's problems are caused by the Black Alliance. They can't see themselves. They don't even know they're in alliance with one another. That's why we call them a Black Alliance, because they can't see themselves even. They're black, it's dark. Light means information. So when you're enlightened, it means you can see yourself and stuff, and you can see stuff, you know. So the Black Alliance needs to be healed. And otherwise, we're going to get the other half of all the vertebrate animals dying. Nobody wants a static Earth with just... We're turning Earth into Mars. We need to turn Mars into Earth, not Earth into Mars, as Sage O'Thyme said on her page in Consciousazine. Sage O'Thyme, or Thyme, is my friend's mum from Sunshine Coast, and she's just a real sagey lady. Anyway, so we need to heal these organic portals, because they're the ones creating all these problems, because they've got no purpose, there's no light, there's no translinguistic lens out the forehead. How do you know if you're looking at one? You can't see into them. That's another thing. See, I've got it all over them now. They're done for. I've got it all, the whole story. It's finished. All I have to do is talk about it. And so you can't see into them. Because I thought for ages, because they don't appear externally different, although they will soon, and we can go into that in a minute, because it's got to do with health. Because, when we start shining and they look like shit because they're eating meat, well, then you'll be able to tell. But it's not a meat eater as an organic portal. No, it's not like that. So I probably gave the wrong notion there. So erase that notion if you don't understand what I said. Anyway, how to tell a 3D person is, well, a 2D person specifically, is you can't see into them. It's like you're looking at a rock wall, Well, even a rock wall, I can see the information in that. I can see different strata layers and etc. But you get what I mean, right? You can't see into them. There's nothing there. They're not there. If you ask them their opinion on stuff, and they always use just everyone else's information, you got yourself an organic portal person. That's why they're great for science. Surface people, they're great for science, and many scientists would be organic portals, because they're information assimilators, but they're not Gnostics. Gnosis means knowledge. Now, it's said that the indigos are collective conscious creation. That would be the sphere, right? Now, or Gnostics, right? Knowledge, Gnosis. The indigos are collective conscious creation. What else is there? Well, the surface area of ignorance, which is like collective unconscious creation. It's the darkness knows itself to have all the ideas away from the stream. So everything that is not on the flow is the Black Alliance generally. You can sort of think of it like that. Now, there might always, for the rest of the universe, be a Black Alliance, because polarity, So nothing you can do. We're in a polarity universe. I suspect. Like I said, I can't see 1,000 years from now. You would think that everyone would take heed to this sort of stuff, and listen up. But some people, it doesn't click. They haven't done enough research to make any of what I'm saying here click. So really, I'm a teacher of the teachers, or a guru, a balanced guru of the dark and the light. I've seen the dark and I've seen the light, and I'm standing somewhere in the middle or something, But so I'm a teacher of the teachers. I remember Dr. Kazar, that health guy I've been watching, Dr. Robert Kazar. He said he's a 13th grader. He says, I'm not a master, I'm a student, just like you. And I thought, yeah, that's a good thing to say. Because a lot of his videos, he's quite arrogant, and I think someone must have said stuff to him, and he's sort of come back down to earth a bit. And his whole deal is being an earther, so he should come back down to earth a bit more. But anyway, so he was saying how he's a 13th grader, and I thought, yeah, that's a good notion to put forth. A notion potion. It's a potion you can take. It's an idea you can take. It's a notion potion. So focus pocus on what I'm saying. Now, so he's a 13th grader, we have primary school here in Australia, which goes to grade 7. Then you have high school here, which is grade 8 to 12. He's saying he's a grade 13er. So that's that idea. That you're not really a master, you're still just a student, When you enter high school, you're thrown in, at the end of primary school, you think you know a lot. You're thrown into high school, and it's a new place, a new world, new ontology. You finish high school as a senior, and you're like, oh, I know so much. Then you head into the world, and you're like, I don't know much. a new ontology again. That's exactly what stepping out of the box of history or culture into the wider universe is like. Exactly what it's like. It's very humbling. It's humbled me right out. The internet, get on the internet, for instance. Not everyone's on the internet yet. This is amazing. This video right now might go to billions of people one day. And some of those people aren't even on the internet yet. It's said, I saw a statistical babble that said 4 billion people use the internet, but then I heard others say only 2 billion. So, I don't know, a couple of billion people are on the internet, the rest aren't. So we're really evolving now, having these dendritical evolutions and micro-neural involutions and creating this almost in our brain, I think, naturally, becoming concrescences in light bodies and all this. So we're evolving to a different species, and I mean, that seems like eugenicists sort of are saying, but I mean, looks like it's happening, And then there's going to be people who are going to be half robot, half human, and anyway, to heal all this stuff, we need to remember, admit, then we can catharsis and purge. Now the purging means billions of people are going to die. We can't get around it. We've come too far. We've trekked too far away from truth. Millions and billions have to die. I can't do anything about it, neither can any of us. Millions at least will die. And it's sad on a fourth dimensional level, yes, but on a fifth dimensional level, there's no emotion in the unpolarized fifth dimension of the living light layer of the universe. There's no emotion. It's just reason, like logic. Out of Star Trek, the Vulcans with their logic and no emotion, they're a fifth dimensional race of people, if you watch Star Trek. Now, we need to heal the third dimensional people and the second dimensional people who think they're just their involuntary body. And you'll see these people, they're in reaction. And as Reiser says, from the Goldring game, the Grand Genesis Singularis Cycle 1, as I call it, is a flip point, or the eschaton. You can just call it eschaton, but eschaton refers to the end of history and culture. Now, the eschaton, or the Grand Genesis Singularis Cycle 1, is another flip point in that way. It's a flip point in that way too, that we're moving from reaction to creation. Yeah. So we have to heal the reactatory parts. Now this is ascension. Stepping out of circular motions and reactatory living. That's ascension. And so what we're doing now is we've got to ascend those people, because they're blocking us. The genuine seeker is being blocked. For instance, because they think psychedelics are not needed, they won't bode for them to be legalized. Yeah, the legalization of nature. How thick they are, We've made nature illegal. Think about it for a minute. As Terence McKenna said, the Declaration of Independence isn't worth... If you can't experiment with your consciousness on psychedelics, the Declaration of Independence isn't worth the hemp it was written on. When I first heard that, I laughed so hard. Anyway, so we've got to heal them, because they're blocking us just by one instance, or one way they are doing that is by saying you don't need psychedelics, therefore I'm not going to vote them as being legal, and they're not going to move to make them legal, right? They want them illegal. They think they want them out of bounds, you can't use them. And that's blocking me, for instance, a genuine seeker along the way, trying to evolve. See, they've rescinded their own evolution. They've said, no thank you, I'm happy, I don't want to evolve. That's what's happening. They're satisfied, but in an ignorant bliss way. And ignorance is not really bliss. I know the saying, ignorance is bliss, but I don't agree. Sorry, I don't agree. Why don't I agree? What's an example? Well, man can play sport till the earth is out of resources. You know what I'm saying? There's your example, you know. We can be in self-satisfaction till the end of the earth. So we've got to get them out of self-satisfaction, which we don't have to do, the earth's doing. Or the natural flow of the universe is doing that anyway, so, I mean, it's nothing I have to personally do, but when I talk about it, the world is made a better place. I add on to that. The world is not on my shoulders, although I feel it is sometimes because I know. You don't have to, but you should. You know, I take a Kantian duty ethic. Immanuel Kant came up with duty ethics that just do something because you should, like, you know. Otherwise, you're standing by the wayside and you're sort of letting everything go to waste. And so what we need to do is unblock. Well, it's like when you go to meditation and you unblock your body. We need to unblock the larger body of humanity of the 2D, 3D organic portal people. So yeah, and that's going to lead to huge convalescence, you know. And God, is that an uphill battle? That's the Battle of Gallipoli right there. That absolute resonance of the Battle of Gallipoli is, you know, a convalescent sort of resonance. Remember, resonances are stranger than we can suppose. We can't put word what the actual resonance is. All you can do is see it playing out. You can see the carriers of the wave of a resonance. You know, they're so strange. Who knows how this universe is really contorted? I have no idea, you know. Sometimes I like to think I have an idea, but I mean, it's not particles and things made out of stuff. The universe runs much deeper than that, and it's multi-dimensional, and these higher realities are non-physical, these higher dimensions. So when you see the universe as the surface, as just particles or little things made out of stuff, that's a 2D viewpoint. You see? It's a 2D viewpoint of the universe that science has. That's the scientific viewpoint. That's why I say that I'm against scientific reductionism, where they say, you've got no proof, therefore we'll go with just what we can see. That's scientific reductionism, you know. I've talked about that before. So Veronica used to think I was against science, and no, now you can see what I meant. You know, I'm not against science. It's a great method of thinking, you know, not to just believe like religious belief and have faith. That's another story. But to actually go through, did this work? No. Circle back round, ask another question, you know, like the scientific method of thinking and experimentation and not just believing. So, yeah, science is good, but we don't want to end in scientific reductionism all the time. You want to have science there and use it, not have science be the last word. It's not the last word, it's the first word. You know, it's the second dimension, so it's like close to the first word. Sorry, I've probably given people the wrong idea of the dimensions. The dimensions create down through the dimensions, so the first dimension is not where creation stems from. It's like the nexi. The first dimension is the ground or plane of being. You know, the 12th or the 13th dimension would be equal to... Maybe the 12th dimension is equal to the idea of Planck length, not Planck length itself. Planck length itself is like string theory and stuff, you know, 5th dimension. And then you go already into nounominous, so not physical phenomenous, you go into nounominous at the 6th dimension already. So the 5th dimension to me is the real solid last layer of physicality. So that's all we're looking at in science, you know. Intuition and the sages and the shamans come in there. We pick up the ideas and we put them together. And thus the shaman is the asymptote. Science is not the asymptote. It's just a tool. Like psychedelics or meditation is a tool to expand your mind. You know? So yeah, we really need to heal the whole... That's why I call it a surface virus. Because it's just the surface people talking about the surface. And thinking that the pantheistic notion is the notion of the universe. The pantheistic notion is that the universe, the physical universe we see, is the body of God. So the whole scientific reductionist organic portal viewpoint of the universe is, or what I call, the surface virus viewpoint. That's not the be-all, end-all. That's like something you can start with. That's where you start. That's not where you end. That's not depth. That's shallow. So you're trekking in shallow waters when you're just a scientist. When you do psychedelics, guess where you're trekking? When you do meditation, guess where you're trekking? Into the deeper end of the pool, or the deeper end of the mind ocean. That is the universe, So each one of us has the task of being an explorer for our species, and that's what the psychedelics are for. We're an explorer for our species. It's not about your own self-elucidation and your own self-directed psychotherapy. They're there for that too, as well. But a larger, higher notion is that we're an explorer for our species, and your job is to let your neuronet, your nervous system, your thinking, your brain, your schemata, your ideology, or ideology. I loved how Terence McKenna used to say ideology. Idiotology. Because 2D, 3D people 3D people specifically get stuck on ideas. And that's scientific reductionism on a 3D level. They get stuck on the idea, they reduce it to that, nothing else can exist. No, it's this way. We've done an experiment, it's this way. No, it's just silly. Anyway, so
The new religion.
Yeah, it's a new religion, exactly. And so we need to move to the cosmic religion. As Einstein said, the future religion will be a cosmic religion. So we're an explorer for our species when we're taking these things. It's not for your self-directed psychotherapy, even though it's great for that. It's not for your self-elucidation or enlightenment, even though it's excellent for that. Every psychedelic I've ever tried anyway. And it's that you're an explorer, and you're to let your neuronet down on the dark ocean of mind and bring back good ideas. Now I'm going to have to repeat McKenna. Actually, let's play it. Let's play just the end part. It's so funny. Where are we? Here we go. So this is the one I want everyone to view, the 24-minute version on YouTube. Let's go right near the end.
Library. This is original.
Oh, I've got no visual.
Size. Back a new idea.
Here we go.
Stroke and stuff like the absolute resonance to the birth of Muhammad. Experiences for is the woman, and everybody knows, and what you could find out by spending time in a good medical library. This is original, and my notion of what the psychedelic experience is for is that we each must become like fishermen and go out onto the dark ocean of mind and let your nets down into that sea. And what you're after is not some behemoth that will tear through your nets, foul them, and drag you and your little boat, into the abyss, nor are what we're looking for a bunch of sardines that can slip through your net and disappear. Ideas like, have you ever noticed that your little finger exactly fits your nostril, and stuff like that. What we are looking for are middle-sized ideas that are not so small that they're trivial and not so large that they're incomprehensible, but middle-sized ideas that we can wrestle into our boat and take back to the folks on shore and have fish dinner. And
that's right, we want fish dinner, and we don't want fish dinner by giving a man a fish, remember? We want to teach a man to fish. So anyway, and that reminded me of what I mentioned krill oil before, and it was in relevance to not overfishing, because apparently there's and to get omega-3, and that you don't have to eat fish actually, even because you can get it from hemp oil. And another reason to legalize cannabis so we can grow hemp and make 50,000 different textiles, like your curtains and your clothes and everything, from hemp, and so you can get omega-3 from there too, from hemp oil. But the thing I was going to say about the krill was, on the sustainability notion, is that apparently there's 10 times more krill on the planet at any time than there are 10 times more krill to 100 times more krill on the planet at any time, more than ants. 10 to 100 times more krill than ants. Krill are those things that the whales eat, and they're good for omega-3, so they're a sustainable source for now. But hemp. But apparently you don't want to get all your omega-3, listening Veronica, apparently you don't want to get all your omega-3 from a plant source. You want the krill oil is number one. You want to get animal-based omega-3 too. I forgot why, but I was listening to a whole lot of health talks, and that's what I saved in my brain. That's how I save information, larger notions. I forget a lot of details because they don't matter. Details are so ephemeral, you know. I save larger notions or larger circles. That's how I see the universe, in larger circles. So anyway, yeah. So krill oil is actually quite sustainable for now, at least. But what's more sustainable is hemp. So we really need to legalize cannabis so we can grow hemp. Because we can make our curtains, our bed sheets, all the textiles you can think of, 50,000 textile uses for hemp. Let alone have it the oil, and it's anti-cancerous, and it's omega-3, thiamine, omega-6, you know. So we've got to really think about the convalescence in a broader perspective, beyond our generation, and leave intergenerational equity. Why are we robbing our own kids, for Christ's sake? What do I mean, for Christ's sake? Well, the light body is the Christing body. I call it first crack consciousness, because it's the first time you're really alive. Jesus probably said something along these lines, for all I know. But I'm a Matreyu Christ, and I'm a carnation of Christ energy. It's got nothing to do with a guy called Jesus Christ. Christ is an energy, and it's got to do with the light body, in my opinion. Oh, from the opinion of a Matreyu Christ, you know, if we're to listen to someone. Yeah, seems relevant. So yeah, I think it's got something to do with the light body. And you know, part of the convalescence is involution, ascension to half or earth heart, to the stars, and then in the upper Danjan, not just remaining in the lower chakras, you know, sex, social, satisfaction, and gut instinct. We want to move far beyond that, you know, because the gut instinct, notice, is a lot to do with the news and the fear thing that we've mentioned about the reptilian sort of people. You know, they like to hold people in fear. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, the gut feeling, the whole gut feeling thing, has a lot. You see the connection there? People are always trying to keep people in fear, and it brings you back down. Now, the news plays to your emotions. You know, every day I'll see something about terrorism on the news. And we're going to have to read this quote. This quote out was the best thing I ever found. This Indian girl who said this. I just thought, yeah, that's it. So I'll just bring that up in a second. Where is she? Hold on, I'll first finish what I was saying. What was I saying? Yeah, so what I was saying was, you know, there is that connection that the news brings you into the lower chakras because it plays to your emotions. The nightly 7 o'clock news, you know, it disconnects you from the mind in this way by appealing to your emotions. So now it is important, and you know, I hear something of terrorism every day on the news, just about every single day. Terrorism this, terrorism that. Jeez, it's really everywhere now, you know, it's really crazy. Here we go. And on the subject of terrorism, this. Someone needs to... Oh, this is going to play. Oops, back. Someone needs to explain to me why wanting clean drinking water makes you an activist, and why proposing to destroy water with chemical warfare, bracket, fluoride, chlorine and chloride, and drinking our own feces, doesn't make you a terrorist. So let's read that again, by Winona LaDuke Anishinaabe. Someone needs to explain to me why wanting clean drinking water makes you an activist, and why proposing to destroy water with chemical warfare doesn't make you a terrorist. So in actual fact, that would make the government the terrorists. Beautiful. Anyway, let's move on. I hope that sunk in. And that's the point, to let things sink in. And again, psychedelics, you sit there for hours, letting things sink in, connecting brain connections. Again, psychedelics, perfect for convalescence. We can go at this all day. I can just keep pointing to the psychedelics and why. Why psychedelic? Oh, okay, another reason why? Well, we're pack apes turning into robot-riding space cowboys. Therefore, reality is psychedelic. That's another reason why take them. They help you cope with death. Not body death, ego death. Letting go of a thing made out of stuff, that car, or any death of anything. Psychedelics help you heal trauma and let go of death. They help you deal with death of all sorts. So again, excellent for the convalescence, since we're going to have millions of people dying. If you think Ebola is where it's going to stop, no, it's only the beginning, which is so sad. So sad on that fourth dimensional level. It makes me really sad. I don't want to see people dying everywhere. I'd much rather have a superposition humanity where we get things done. And I can be on Mars with a replicator, smoking a joint, Whatever. But, if we don't look at this stuff, then we're up shit creek. We're further than shit creek, then we're dead, So the first stage is to admit something is wrong, and that we're alcoholics and meataholics and psychopaths and all this, and bring the empathy, compassion and all that back, and into the forefront, Like, I have compassion, obviously, and empathy, because otherwise I wouldn't be here talking. I could keep all this information to myself, and I could know it, and I could go out and live off wild food and all this stuff. But, I have the empathy and compassion to tell you all. And still people had trouble giving me money and donating to the Food Plant Teaching Series for a long time. I'm glad now, in the second year, people really looked after me this year. The whole last year was great. But that first year, I had to delete thousands of people from my Facebook. They wouldn't even reply. I wasn't saying they had to donate. What I was actually saying was, you have to reply because I'm your friend on Facebook and I don't want a fake friend. That's not a specious notion. It's not specious at all. It's not spurious or specious. So, I had to delete thousands of people. Anyway. So, there's lots to think about surrounding the convalescence, obviously. And it's been 2.5 hours. Nice. Boy, do I hope this saves. If this doesn't save, oh God, I'll be pissed off. It's a good talk, eh? It's going good. Yeah, I'll be pretty pissed off if it doesn't save. I hate computers. The modern, and look at this. Look at this stuff is all through society. The modern computer, or the shit box. If it's so modern, why isn't it good? It's like Stone Age technology. We really have to take a hard look at all this inferior product creation. We don't have enough resources to keep creating 1,000 billion crap computers every year. We need to make a computer that lasts. What we should do is make a computer that lasts someone their whole life, give one person one computer, a custom computer for them. If they're blind, I don't know, it somehow interacts with their brain so they can see. If they're deaf, interacts with their ears and they can hear. Universal translator, etc. We need to make good products. If we're going to make products, we need to make good products. That's definitely part of the zeitgeist too. And that's why the zeitgeist, the actual film, showed that too. It's no coincidence. The universe is not happenstance. Now, that is a real big part of the zeitgeist and the convalescence, to create proper products, good products, not half-assed products, just to get some money. They're everywhere. You walk into the supermarket, every single product you see, almost everything you see in the supermarket is what I would call an inferior piece of shit product. It's crap. And not only does it make you sick, and people don't even realize how these things are making them sick, It's beyond a lot of people. Which is not... Noam Chomsky, I think is his name, he said, people don't even know that they don't know. And I went, oh yeah, it's terrible. They don't even know that they don't know, because we've been dumbed down so much. The fluoride in the water, the burning of books through history. All this has culminated in a dumb population. And people think they're smart because they've got a job. People always say to me, oh, you got no job, you're a bum. Well, that's funny. Do you know why that's funny? Because I can tell you things that you can't even understand for the rest of the day, and yet I am stupider than you. Oh yeah, that's amusing. They don't even know that they don't know, and that's scary. Now I saw this, the unconscious. I call that the unconsciousness. I saw this on the psilocybin cubensis once. I've told you this before. I saw it. Like, when you see something, you actually see the whole thing. It doesn't mean you can describe it in words, but it means you can see it. Like, there's a picture on the internet that says about psychedelics, shows you the answer to then some, everything and then some, won't let you coherently talk about it. I thought, yeah, that's definitely what's happening there. Terence McKenna said a lot of this stuff's un-Englishable. We're going to have to create different language. We're going to have to bring all these languages together, like chemistry and physics is a language. Somehow we're going to have to bring all this together into a human language or something, Like I said on the re-education page in Consciouszine, the world language is English for now, at the end of history, but, one day we have to make like some sort of human language where everything compresses into something. Because remember, the world is made out of language. And the best example of that is I was watching Ramayana, Nexus Illuminati blog site creator, Ramayana's video on in the forest, and he was interviewing the Aborigine from Australia here, and he said, we didn't even used to know what segregation was. They didn't know what segregation was because there was no word for it. They were just being segregated, men and women, And they didn't even know what segregation was. Do you understand how reality is made of linguistics? Math is a linguistic language. It's arithmetic is its own language. So we have to make some sort of human language, is what I was saying just there. One day. Yes, conversations at the end of culture. Cultures are cults. Not too long ago did we all pay out other cultures, and diss them and give them crap. And now we're realizing, each culture has a different piece of the puzzle. For instance, I know Chinese language is very emotional. I heard Terence McKenna say that too. He said something about it's a deeper emotional language, and I thought about that for a while, and then I actually started finding all these things. What things? Well, these words. I could take you there now, but I can't be bothered. There's all these words that relate to. I guess I'll take you there. So this is my notes domain, Site Creator of Consciouszine, and let's go to my amalgamative lexicon note. And in there's what I'm talking about. It'll show you how the Chinese language is like this emotional language. I'll show you. 1 second. It's loading. It's loading. Inferior internet. Alright, let's go down.
Profane language. And look, there's a whole lot of them. I've got a whole slideshow full. Phallolalia. Flirtatious talk that leads nowhere, so that's obviously not a Japanese one. Let me see if I can find the Chinese or Japanese. I think it was Chinese one. It's in here somewhere. I think this is one. I'm not sure. But this is what I'm talking about. Oh, it's in here somewhere. Ah, that's it there. I don't know how to pronounce that, but moksha. I am emotionally free, it means. So there you go, that's what I was talking about. They've got like a really like emotional sort of language, and they don't say a lot of glib vacuities. Now the surface virus runs, I swear it runs on glib vacuities as well, you know, partly. It lives on glib vacuities. What's a glib vacuity? Well, glib means, you know, ephemeral, not sincere, and it's something you say as a way of brainwash and doublethink, and something that is just easy to spurt out. You know, like if someone says, "How you going?" in Australia, I'll say, "Yeah, good, mate." You know, that's a glib vacuity. And the surface virus lives on glib vacuities, and you'll notice the absence of informational content. What you really want to say, you might not even say. You say the glib vacuity instead. And vacuity means vacant of information, or what you might say. A glib vacuity. And so the surface virus loves these. It lives on the glib vacuities, you know, it loves it. So, you know, obviously I can talk about this forever, but I don't know, I think we might end here soon. 2 hours and 40 minutes. If this doesn't save, oh God, I think I might ring up Skype and say, can you trace my last Skype call? Because it's been a good talk so far. I think I'll have cleared up some stuff for people, because I've made all these videos and I've made all these separated videos, and this is really a talk that's brought it all together. And this is what I'm going to start doing now, more talks that bring it all together, so people can actually understand what my whole rigmarole, what I'm going on about. And what else is to say? Now we should get into, alright, we can talk about that stuff all day. Now I think we need to get to the crux, the raison d'etre. We need to get to the good stuff here. Listen to the shamans. Stop ignoring us. Stop thinking we're druggies or something. You know, we're psychoanalysts exploring our own psycho world, and you know, we're exploring the universe and thoughts and all that. But yeah, listen to us. And in my video recently, one of them, I don't know which one, I said, in the future, to manage water, because we want to stop drinking our own feces, and it's ridiculous. You see, at the end of the money system, everything becomes ridiculous. That's how I know we're at the end of the money system. Everything becomes ridiculous. Because everyone's doing everything for glib reasons. Insincere, money-making, profit reasons. It is said that souls are being harvested for the benefit of the bottom line, or profit. And it all just gets ridiculous here. Everything, the lawmakers, the presidents, the politicians, because they've got no choice. They have to keep rolling with their system that they're attached to.
and it will get ridiculous. Why? Because the laws can't fix everything. We need to create more law, L-O-R-E, or knowledge. Knowledge will fix things. You know, chaos doesn't happen from knowledge. Chaos happens from ignorance. And making law, L-A-W, is not the way. It's not the way. It's restrictive, not expansive like law or knowledge. Knowledge is expansive. Law, L-O-R-E, not L-A-W, is what we need. And the laws are restrictive, and it's going to get ridiculous. Like they've said in Australia, you get $500 fine for swearing at a police officer. Now that's just a glib example, you know. So, I mean, there's endless examples, obviously, but just remember what I've said here. How you know we're at the end of the money system is because it's all starting to get ridiculous. That's how I ended my money system talk. It's 3 hours, 40-minute talk, and the end sentence, I think, was that it all gets ridiculous here at the end. And why did I mention that in that talk? Because at the end of my money talk there, I show this guy at the TED Talks conference, and he's saying free money for everyone. It's called, it's got a specific name to the theory. And he was saying, he was showing statistical babble. You know, he was showing, it worked wonders here and it done this. And I said, yeah, but it's like a Band-Aid cure. You know, it's not etologically getting to the core of the problem. Inflation's still going to be going up. You can give people money. Money will become worthless. So I hope they do this method, you see. There's no way out for them. They're done. It's all over. There's no way out. Tell me a way, and so I can laugh and tell you why it's not a way out. But it all gets ridiculous here, and I hope they do give this free money. It's got a certain name. I forgot the name of that theory of. It's like an economic theory. You give people free money, and they use it in a certain way, and it makes stuff better, apparently. Now, that's not the way. The way is to get rid of money altogether. Then you'll have no problem with, have you ever heard this? Say I'm a scientist from Harvard. We didn't have enough funding to do that experiment. Yeah, well, there'll be no more of that. None of that nonsense in the future. Without money, we'll be able to do every experiment we ever wanted. You see, there'll be no lack of funding because people will want to do the experiment. You'll have manpower. You don't need money. You've got manpower and will force to want to do stuff and evolve and move, not to sit still meditating, you know. We want to do stuff. We've got to get stuff done, you know. It's a moving, evolving universe. Meditation is for healing. And yeah, it helps you do stuff because you think things through and, yeah. But, yeah, so money is another thing that's definitely, you know, gonna be part of the convalescence or the healing. If we get rid of that, whew, imagine all the problems gone. Now people say, the fabric of society will break down, the world will tumble into chaos. Well, I dare say it's already doing that already. So money is not stopping it from tumbling into chaos, so maybe we should try to get rid of it. That's a little bit of an idea, you know. I mean, sorry if I sound sarcastic, but it's like the people that call themselves leaders can't even see this stuff. So I have to take this tone. This isn't my natural tone. It's a tone that I feel I have to take to get through to these people, even though it's probably the worst tone to take, because then people don't listen to you. But, you know, either way, whatever. I'm fifth dimensional. I don't care what tone someone's got. It doesn't offend me. They can be the most arrogant asshole in the world. If they've got the right information, I'll still listen. So that's why I take this tone and don't care. Anyway, so I feel I kind of need to take this tone because the leaders are not leading. So what we've got is the money people who are meant to be at the bottom, or the robotic people doing stuff. The shaman doesn't do a lot of stuff. The shaman sits around on psychedelics and thinks a lot. He doesn't do a lot of stuff. He's not an engineer inventing and, you know, all that sort of thing. Even though because we're maximum novelty domain, and coincidentia oppositorum means actually the shaman can be doing all that too. But, generally from the historical context, the shaman is the person who is the thinker and the less of a doer, Well, he's out in the forest doing, but you know what I mean, right? You've got people who are real doer people, and then the shaman is like more of a being, Buddhist, Taoist sort of person, So we've got the flip. It's yet another polarity flip of the eschaton, you see. We've got the people down here, the doing people, and the shaman, the thinking, because, well, why have I put the shaman up here? I'm just arrogant about myself? No, because I don't know if you noticed, but I sure did. Thoughts create reality. So the person who's thinking and the consciousness is the stream of evolution is up the top, obviously, then. So, we've got all the doers down here who can't think for themselves if it meant their life. They can't. They'll come up with a theory from someone else or something. Anyway, so you've got them people down here, and then, the shaman type of, thinker people, meditators, whatever. The masters up here. And the doers, you can put lots of words to this, but you know what I'm saying. It's going to flip. That's just another flip of the eschaton. And, the robots hopefully soon will replace the politicians, the politics, sucking us. And so this is all of what I've said pretty much is 100% antithetical, straying from the normal or right way of society, isn't it? So this will hit, I imagine this YouTube video will get, a lot of dislikes. So I might just turn off the dislikes and the likes. But, this is all completely, I don't want to say counterintuitive, but the opposite of what the normal average citizen is thinking these days. See, they actually think the way is to make more law, LAW, more statutes. They think more law, more statutes, more governance. They actually think that that's the way because everything's spinning out of control. They think, we have to control it, It's the exact opposite way, though. To make law, LAW, it's gonna create not just restriction, but like a bouncing effect. Like how can I explain this? Here's the best example. I'm so glad that came into my head then. How can I explain that further? Here's how. If you make nature illegal, plant and fungi hallucinogens illegal, guess what happens? You get what you have today. You get synthetic drugs created, and they're even worse. Oh, no, not even worse. They're bad when psychedelics are good, So that's what happens. If you create the law, not only is it just restricting, but that's the best example of it, the psychedelic example. When you make nature illegal and the psychedelics, people are going to want, it's an inherent property of the human to want to evolve with these substances. It's inherent. That's why we do cocaine. That's why we drink alcohol. It's there. And Terence McKenna said this in his talk, the evolution of the psychedelic thinker, I think is the talk. And I went, oh yeah, because it's there. It's like an inherent property of evolution of the human. Like, people are so against this, and they'll say, no, it's not. Like even I would almost expect you to say, no, I don't need the psychedelics, and that's like almost brainwash, I'm telling you. I went easy on you. Anyway, so the psychedelics, if you ban nature, you're going to get Molly. You know what Molly is? It's a synthetic drug that's just killing people. And you're going to get ice. The thing you smoke through the pipe. You're going to get all the synthetic things created. Because the seeking, you can't put out the flame of the Gnostic seeking. You see? With laws. You can create 1,000,000 laws, and you can't stop the evolution of the universe. And that's what I said. The Black Alliance attempts to block and stem the flow. Now, that is not the way. So, I mean, this sort of stuff has to really come into admittance so we can purge it and then transcend and transmute it. And then it'll make us enlightened. So, you know, if we think we can do it without everything I've mentioned here, you're 100% wrong. 100%, not even 99%. Because, I mean, this is like the top of my thinking. I mean, I can talk about a whole lot of other stuff, but this is where it's at. This is all the zeitgeistical thoughts that I've brought forth today. This is all the spirit of the times thoughts, and if you don't think it is, you're not on the flow. You're not a surfer of the concrescence, so to speak, like I am. So the zeitgeist of the spirit of the times is to face all this stuff I've been talking about. I mean, it's in science, it's, you know, I don't have to convince you, because it'll come to you. You'll see this for yourself. And so what we want to do is create more knowledge, which the internet's doing, you know, obviously. And you've got internet forums of myco hunters, you know, hunting mycology. And that huge phylum of mycology or fungi. And, you know, to create more statutory laws is going to restrict, not only restrict, it's going to create more static, it's going to create more crap like the synthetic drugs. It's going to create a bouncing effect, and that is the bouncing effect. You know, if you make that illegal, then they'll bounce off to something else, right? So, I mean, this stuff really has to be taken into consideration when you've got as much pain in the world as we do, I think. Here's a good picture. Sheeple, a portmanteau of sheep and people, is a term in which people are likened to sheep, a herd animal. The term is used to describe those who voluntarily acquiesce to a suggestion without critical analysis or research. They undermine their own individuality and may willingly give up their rights. And that's what we have in the world today, obviously. And that's the surface virus. Remember, we talked about the cognition thing, the synchronization of cognition. And actually, in that experiment on SBS that I saw, the guy was asked, you know, what he thought about the other people's thoughts, and a little switch went on in his head saying that his thought was an erroneous thought when it was not the same. So that shows you, with science, how brainwashed everyone is. It's no longer a concept, it's, you know, it's really being shown in experimentation and everything. EEGs and, you know, the electrographs and so what else can I mention? You are nature. You know, people, the fall away from the Gaian Logos or the Gaian connection, the Earth connection. Now people heard me say that before and talk about grounding. You can actually go look up the longevity panel on YouTube, and David Wolf's mind-blowing experiment is the video title. And they've got grounding technology where when you sit at a computer for ages, you become ungrounded really quickly. And then if you go sit on the grass for half an hour, actually immediately there's changes in all signs. But after half an hour, the blood decoagulates, and he shows you pictures of blood, really coagulated blood when they're ungrounded, and then the participants sat on the ground for half an hour and their blood's all separated. So, I mean, again, science, thank fuck for that. And that's been a great help. And this is all on the internet, you know, it's all out there. I'm not just pulling it out of my ass and making it up. Everything I've said out here is researchable. Yeah. I think we've got a lot to do, you know. There's a lot to do. It's an uphill battle. I really want to focus on the organic portal people, but I don't know, because you can see how all this stuff is connected to that, and the disconnection state, and being a 2D, 3D person. You know, it's all connected to that, and that's obvious, right? That's obvious to you, isn't it? I mean, it's obvious to me, really obvious, how the non-local mindset of 3D egocentric mindset is a big part of the problem, because then you get slave labor. You know, that's just one example. And then remember the whole mindset of being disconnected from nature. That mindset is reflected, as I said, in ocean acidification, 52% of vertebrate animals dead, and you know. So I mean, it's all connected to the organic portal theme of the organic portal people, 2D and 3D people. If you need a good example, I love saying this. There's 2006 documentary, Down the Rabbit Hole, What the Bleep Do We Know? And in that, you got the Dr. Quantum cartoon. And I mean, if you haven't seen that, please go and watch it, because that's exactly what these people are like. You know, the little circle is there, and he's a flatlander. And Dr. Quantum flies in, and you know, the circle's scared at first. He's like, oh, what's that? And that might be like me having a spiritual vision and being scared, and that's why they say cannabis causes schizophrenia. Oh, God. It'll all rectify itself, you know. If you call schizophrenia being getting out of the toxic ego into your higher self, well then go ahead and call it that, because that's what's happening. It's a schism between your higher and lower self. The ego is like this makeup of the surface virus, and then the higher self is, you know, the id, which is some kind of higher makeup of your soul and, I don't know, the universe's souls and soul groups and stuff, I guess. And so there is a schism created when you do that, because you get in touch with the higher aspects of yourself, and it unlocks up to 42 different genetic things. So schizophrenia is not associated with one gene. It's not one gene unsleeving and unlocking and making you crazy. Rather what it is, it's 42 genes interacting, and thus you can see what? What can you see from well, I'll tell you what I can see. I can see then that means it's an opening of bandwidth. It's an opening. 42 genes have just started doing stuff. You know? So there you go. That's the whole schizophrenia thing explained. And thanks to Veronica for giving me that article too. Integral you are to my path. Yeah, definitely. So the whole organic portal theme is at the center of all this, in my opinion. Everything from burning books to illegalizing nature, you know, all of it. The disconnection state, everything. It's all got to do with this organic portal thing. Now, if you look up on the internet organic portal, if you search that word, you'll get veilofreality.com, which is the article I read, and you'll get other articles. Apparently it was channeled in by Cassiopeia star system. So then you've got channeled readings, and I don't really like channeled readings. There's a lot of fluff in them, because you're getting a reading through someone else, and so all of their fluff will be in the reading. And that's what I think I'm good at, taking away fluff, I think, personally. Like, that's why a lot of people are drawn to me, because I try my hardest just to stick with the information and not add too much of my own fluff, you know. But a lot of channeling stuff, even when I channel, you know, you'll get fluff. You get filler. It's not all killer, you know. So yeah, this is all surrounding this organic portal theme, and I think everybody, it warrants a look into it. People have asked me, do organic portals dream? And this is an important thing that we should discuss. They've asked me, because, you know, people obviously realize what's being said in that article when I give it to them, and they go, oh, maybe I'm an organic portal. I remember even you were doing that, Veronica. And I thought that too. I thought, you know, obviously that's what happens straight away. You want to inspect yourself to see if you are one. Happened to me too. But yeah, I did that too. I went, oh, am I? Oh, no, can't be. And then, you know, I started thinking about it, and then so I really thought about it, as you can see. And so people have asked me, do organic portals dream? So here's the answer: yes and no. Yes, in the way of nighttime dreaming, but no, they do not dream bigger, you know. They don't have like a life dream bigger than an occupation or a business or something, you know. They don't dream big, you know what I'm saying? Life dreams. So they dream at night from the pineal, because the pineal is not the chakra system, which is what we're talking about when we're talking about an organic portal. It's the missing chakras, energetic centers, not the endocrine centers. And that's why that article calls it the fake endocrine system, because some people think the third eye is the pineal, because Rene Descartes, he said, oh, the pineal's the seat of the soul. So everyone immediately priori concluded that, oh, the pineal's the third eye. No, it's not the actual third eye. It works in unison with your chakra system, but it's not the actual third eye. The actual third eye is a chakra. It's a translinguistical lens out the forehead. So obviously when you work with psychedelics and you can enhance that, then it enhances your endocrine system, which is your hormonal system, which is the master switches to your body. Thus it's healthy to take psychedelics. So they will dream nighttime dreams, perhaps, maybe not. That just depends if you've got a calcified pineal or not. But they won't dream bigger. They won't have life dreams, you know, proper, like me, like I'm going to walk the earth like Jesus and stuff, you know, like, you know, a life dream, you know what I mean?
No lucid dream.
Yeah, they're not. There's a good point. It is said that I am to enter dream time into lucid cognicality. They don't have dream time connection, which comes from the chakra stuff. And I don't think they lucid dream. I don't know for sure, but I would guess that they wouldn't even lucid dream. But I don't know, maybe we should not say that and rescind that comment, because I have no idea. But I would guess that they might not even lucid dream. But they definitely don't lucid life dream, you know? You know what I'm saying? You get the difference between the two dreaming things that I'm putting forth. They're two different notions. Whether you dream at night has nothing to do necessarily with, you know, these life dreams, you know. So that's just to answer that one, and I think we're going to finish talking, because it has been 3 hours exactly. Alright then. So what do I do here to save this? I think I'll just close it. Please click yes, stop and save it, and close the window, or no to continue recording.